Before you write, you should never forget what type of. Oh yeah, good morning. Before you write, you should never forget what type of manuscripts you are trying to write. There are different types of manuscripts. Whether you are writing a book, a journal, a conference proceeding, a review paper, you should be very clear in your head because they all demand different things. Then, do not add a sentence in your writing when that sentence is not communicating anything. Don't. These are some key things that should always be in your head. That is why I bring it first before I start my presentation. Never add any sentence to your writing if that sentence is not communicating anything. Or if it is not, it's not just communicating anything, if it is not communicating any new information, don't add it. So you are not supposed to be repeating what you are saying. What is the position of the sentence that you are putting down in your writing? Are you making an argument? Are you making a proposition? Are you reporting something? Are you supporting something? Or you are confirming an idea? It should be very, very clear. It should always be a story when you are writing. Your writing should always come as a story. You should have a flow. There should be suspense. You should critique. And you should also have visuals. Visuals will come in two ways. The person should be able to read and visualize what you are writing. And the person should also see some visuals to support what you are doing. So do not start writing until you are ready enough. The big question is, how many or how much is enough? How many people do you need to read before we say that you're ready enough? How much content do you need before you can say that you're ready enough? So with this kind of thing in your background, now, I have to be honest with you, if you keep answering these questions in every single writing, you are fine. If you keep answering these questions until every single writing, you are fine. But how do we do that? So let's see what we're going to talk about for today. So today, the issues that we're dealing with is your research philosophy. You should understand research philosophy. You understand why I'm taking you back to research philosophy. You need to understand research philosophy because your research philosophy informs how you write. If you are a positivist writer, you write differently. If you are an interpretivist writer, you write differently. So your research philosophy will guide you on how to craft your sentences, how to communicate your ideas, whatever you are doing. Your research philosophy will lead you to the way you write. And then we'll talk about the four main types of academic writing and when to use them. So we'll be going through each stages of the writing, and then we'll see when to use this type of writing. And we'll give an example. Then the vocabulary, you need to be formal and confident. Your writing should come out to be formal. It shouldn't be an informal writing. And then the structure. This is perhaps one area that a lot of people make errors. Imaging and tables and things like that. It will look very, very simple, but it's when a reviewer is reviewing the paper, the way you use tables and images and certain things, even the way you do your punctuation, tell the reviewer straight that you are a novice writer. And sometimes you may have a very wonderful idea, but they will just reject the paper because they cannot confirm. They can tell that this guy is not a researcher, he's just starting. So you cannot propose a very wild idea and you expect them to accept it with this type of writing. So the writing is very, very necessary. Citation and referencing is also another thing that you need to understand. It is also another way of determining whether a writer is a beginner writer. The way you cite, the way you reference, what you reference, all tells them whether you're a beginner writer. So let's start. A belief. What is a belief? Now, this is a question that we should all think about for a minute. What do you think a belief is? What do you think a belief is? Those of us joining online, can anybody help us what a belief is? Hello? Yeah, some people online, but you can't see. Yes, those of us online, can you help us with what a belief is? Belief. All of them, their minds are off.
But anything you have a strong feeling or likeness to.
Yes, anything you have a strong feeling or likeness to. Yes, that can be a belief. Yes. Any other idea. Belief. We need to understand these things as researchers. If we don't, so these are the key things that worries us. So believe anybody can try, anybody can try.
Something you have faith in.
Something you have faith in. I like that word. You have faith in. You see, one word is or something is clicking through our minds. We all know that all beliefs have not been proven. Is that not true? Anything that you believe in is not proven. Once you believe in a thing, there is no proof that that thing exists. If it exists, then we don't need to believe in it. Is that not true? If there is a proof, then belief is not necessary. We only believe when there is no proof. So we say that it is a philosophical state in which an individual holds a conjecture or premise to be true. We hold it to be true. It does not mean that it is true. I hope you are getting me. It doesn't mean that it is true. Please let's get this concept right, because it will inform the way we are going to write. So something exists to be true without proof. So we all believe in God. Nobody can prove the existence of God. I tell people that all the calculations and whatever people do is rubbish. The very first day somebody proves to me that there is God, that will be the very day I will not believe in God again. Because it means that God is no more supernatural. I mean, it's an ordinary scientific thing that can be proven. So when we believe in something, we hold on to that. And we may not have any physical evidence, but we still hold on to that. Now, why is this necessary? You understand. So these are the other terms in the definition of beliefs, but I don't need to worry us. Let's move on. Why do we talk about belief? Research, or every researcher, or every human being, let me start from this point. Every human being on earth believes in something. You hear people who tell you, I don't believe in anything. Yes, it's true. They believe that they don't believe in anything. It's a belief. So everybody believes in something. You cannot do anything on earth without a belief. I hope you are getting me. Now, some of you, this is the first time you are seeing me, isn't it? And you walk in here thinking that I'm the person, I'm Isaac Wiafe, right? It's a belief. Do you have any proof that is me? Because I said it. Are you getting the point I'm trying to make? So you only believe. That is the fundamental of everything. Now, what you believe in guides the way you think, and it guides your thoughts, everything that you do. So you are here thinking that, okay, this is Isaac Wiafe, right? The next thing that you are probably believing in is that probably I understand research methods, I understand academic writing skills. You've not seen any of my papers. So what if I'm writing rubbish? So far as I'm teaching, so the next assumption is that because University of Ghana has employed me to the computer science department, there is an assumption that I can teach. What if I even fooled University of Ghana and I don't have a certificate? So you see, whatever you do, you will start from the point where there is a belief. There should be something without proof in your head. Or you are not getting my point. Mm-hmm. So you are Angela, right? You believe you are Angela. You don't have any proof. Because your parents told you that you are Angela. That's all. Date of birth, there is no proof. It's just a document. What if the person writing your date of birth made a mistake? Are you getting it? So these are the philosophical states of our thinking that we should. You have a mother and you believe it's your mother, but you don't have any proof. You may believe through DNA, but still there's a proof. What if the DNA concept is actually wrong? It's a concept. So we need to have a fundamental belief. And every researcher, it's not even every researcher, everybody would have that. So when you become a researcher, those beliefs actually inform the way you think. And we start seeing it right now. You see that it will inform the way you think, and it should also inform the way you write. If you don't let your beliefs inform the way you write, you will be believing in a particular way and you'll be writing in a different way. So when you write and somebody reads it, and then you are doing a presentation and the person is talking to you, there will be a contradiction. That is where the problem starts. But if you know how to write based on what you believe, then you will be able to communicate your ideas for the person to understand your position. When any experienced researcher starts reading, he can tell the type of person you are. And therefore, his arguments may support or refute yours. Does not mean that your arguments are wrong, but the person would also have a position. If you look at religion, right? So we have different religions. We have Islam, Christianity, Hindu, Buddha. everybody believes in something. If I start talking to you, the way I will talk will let you know that I am a Christian. Isn't it? The way I will talk will let you know that I am a Muslim. Let's take, for example, you find a Christian talking and he's using the word Allah. You ask yourself, is this guy a Christian? But Allah means God, isn't it? But you hardly find a Christian using the word Allah. It's the same thing talking with a Muslim. You find a Muslim using the word Allah, without using God. But Allah means God. So that's what you want to believe in. So the first thing is that we have those who have ontological beliefs. So ontological belief simply means that you believe that there is one existing truth, reality in nature. Something starts from one point and everything depends on it. Now most scientists or most physical scientists are here. Those of us in computer science, engineering and things like that, we are mostly here. It does not mean that social scientists don't get it. But most times, we are here. So you always will, if you start thinking about or start looking at all the subjects that you have been doing and the way you think, you see that you fall in. So it focuses on the description of nature of reality and attempts to answer the question, what is real, what is not real. In effect, identify the foundations of issues. So you always want to come out with what is there. You want to understand. Can I connect these two things to get something? You look at that. Then we have people who believe in people who believe in epistemological belief. So there are people who think that truth is universal. Truth is universal. So attention is given to exploring the nature of knowledge, and thus issues such as what does knowledge depend on. We don't want to assume that everything is A. In the first group, everything is A. Second group, there are different versions of A. Now, immediately, is it telling you that your writing will be different? You will see, when we come to the writing, you see that this guy is writing differently. Then we have those who believe in axiology, those who believe in values. What should be valued on earth? Some people want to understand what are the key things that we need to pay our attention to on earth. What are the key things we need to understand on earth? And then we also have those who believe in methods. Now, again, those within sciences also fall within this part. Sometimes you will believe in methods. This is the approach, algorithms, things like that. You believe in how can we put things together to get certain results. So people also believe in methods. Based on your beliefs, like I said, you have a paradigm, you form intentions, you have a thought pattern. So that is a paradigm. So the basic beliefs help us to form intentions. And it's the intentions that lead us to whatever we do. So the intentions are not like, because I am this, I will definitely be that. The reason is simple, because you may find yourself believing in one or two or three or all of them. You may be a neutral person. You may be an extremist, a positive extremist. Just as in Christianity, you have Christian extremists, you have Islamic extremists and all. In research, there are people like that. There are times that you'll be talking to some researchers and they will tell you, no, you can't use this method. This is how it's done. And no matter what you say, they'll tell you this is how it's done. They won't accept anything. That person is an extremist in research. And there will be people who are flexible. They will tell you, okay, because I am not really ontological. I am a combination of all, so I can accept this and that. There are people like that. So depending on that, they will have a different approach to their paradigms, their thought pattern. So these are also the four main types of thought patterns. There are people who think in a positivist way, right? So these people assume that reality is objective. And it should be the same, irrespective of the measuring instrument. No matter where we are looking at the objective, we should get the same results. Then we have people who put themselves into the matter, interpret it. They believe that we can explain their thought patterns. Based on their beliefs, their thought patterns, believe that we should be able to explain the situation. Then we have people who are critical. Now, these people will seek to understand what are the things happening. So you see, those in values, they will be looking at this. Then those in methods always seek to create things. they design. 99% of 90% of computer science and engineering guys would want to design. They have to finish creating something. They finish by creating something. So what you believe in will now inform what you are going to. Now let's see. Yes, please.
So maybe as
can you speak loud so that they can hear you?
Okay. So as young researchers like us, now we are coming up.
All of us are young researchers. Are you defining research in terms of young age?
Or some people have been in the field for a longer time.
So what is the definition of your young?
Well,
please, you find me doing these things because I want us to change our thought patterns and the sentences we craft. The sentences should not be ambiguous. It should be very, very clear. So that's what I'm saying. What is your definition for young?
I mean beginners.
Beginner researcher, how do you define a beginner? How many years?
Well, not in terms of years, but maybe you are now coming to publish your first paper.
So anybody who has not published his first paper is a beginner.
Coming out with something.
Are you getting it? You see that it's really difficult to define who's a beginner. It's very difficult to define who's a beginner.
I guess they know what I'm trying to say.
No, you see, that's where the problem starts. We always assume that the reader or the listener understands what we are going to say, but it's not true. It's not true. So when we are communicating, from now on, our speaking and our writing should be very, very specific. So let's, like your statement, what about those who have not published a paper before? That one, I've not said beginner. Are you getting my point? I've not said beginner. So in writing, this is how they expect us to write. If you say, as a beginner writer, who is a beginner writer? You see that the reviewer will put there, question mark, who is a beginner writer? Because perhaps what you are thinking as a beginner writer is different from what the reviewer is thinking as a beginner writer. But if I say, for considering those who have not published any academic paper, that one, there is no argument about it. We all know what academic papers are. If the person has published, fine. If he has not published, we can tell. So, go.
There are also other people, maybe they are in a particular lab.
Yes.
They are also beginners, like they are trying to learn the concepts or something.
Are you still defining beginner in your head based on your understanding, or beginner in terms of how we should call ourselves beginners?
That's his belief.
Okay, I'll go with like somebody who hasn't published.
Oh, no worry, no. Let's go on.
So normally we have people guiding us towards where we want to go.
Yes.
So if the person has his own beliefs
to affect you,
yes. So would that belief shape you in a particular way?
Yes. We have all been shaped our beliefs based on where we come from, the people we interact with. You ended up being a computer scientist or being sitting in this class or doing computer science or engineer or whatever, not because you were born and you have skills on computers. It's the people you live with, the people you interacted with, started shaping you, making you think in a particular thought pattern, and then you finish and then you say that I want to be a computer scientist. So as you go along, you'll be meeting people, mentors, everything. As you meet those people, it keeps shaping the way you're thinking, and it will guide your research. So don't be too much worried if you are working in a particular lab or with a different researcher and his research is influencing you. Don't be worried. And don't also be worried if you want to be the stubborn type where you can work with a person. I don't believe in that person's approach of doing research. The only thing is that you learn, and then when you are free and you take off, you do your own thing. Okay. So like I said, based on these beliefs, we always have. So how does it affect our writing style? You will see that when we are communicating, like I mentioned in art, we have four main types of writing. Four main types of writing. So either between the descriptive, between analytical writing, you try to persuade the people, the reader to understand, or you're doing critical evaluation of what is going on. So you need to know how to combine these things to make sense. And here, from my experience, it is not a science, it is an art. It is just like painting. How you can paint. Because I'm saying this because I've had people I've worked with that I have given them rubbish documents. document that I think this thing cannot be publishable. One of my supervisors, my second supervisor in particular, student Bolivar. I write, and then I feel like, well, this paper is not publishable. Right? Like I don't see what is in the paper, right? And then he reads and says, oh, that's a very nice paper. I said, no, there's nothing in there. So leave it for me. Tomorrow, come for it. The next day I come and I read and I ask, where did you get this paper from? And he's telling me that's your work. That is how writing skill is. It's an art. If the person knows how to write, the person knows how to tell a story, the person can write more. So let's now look at it. It means that you cannot become an expert writer by waiting to the last minute to write. If it is an art and it's painting, it means that the more you paint, the more you become better. The more you pick the scale of painting. If it's a science and it's mathematics, then you can do that, you have the logic in your head, and you know that, oh, this is the formula, yes, and then you go. No. Writing is not like that. You need to practice. I have a rule, as I go on, I'll give all those rules, but let me mention, I have this rule that I always tell my students. Write a minimum of 1 page, between 300 to 500 words a day. It's like religion. Read the Bible every day, and your life will not be the same. Write every day, and your writing skill will not be the same. It is true. If you like, start writing 300 to 500 words a day of whatever you've read. Every day, try doing that. I'm telling you, it's not easy. The first 1 month, the way you struggle to get even 5 lines, you'll be surprised. You write like 20 lines and delete 4 and leave 2. Then you write another 30 and delete 4 and leave 1. The story is the same for everybody. So don't think that you are the only people with that problem. That is how we all started. But as you keep doing it, you get to a point and then you see that your writing flows, you make less mistakes. That is how it goes. So you try and then write between 300 to 500 words a day, especially those doing PhD. If you are writing 300 to 500 words per day, and then you have 365 days in a year, take the weekdays and weekends out. Right, you may end up with about 200, let's assume 200 days. That tells you that by the end of your first year, you have 200 pages. End of first year. What it also means is that you have 200 pages. If you start putting them together and taking the chart out, you end up with about 50 pages. And you are good. So that is how, if you wait till last minute and you think you can write, you will not be able to write. If you don't believe me, when you go home, try to write 2 pages of what you wrote so far. If you are able to write it, then you know you are fine. If you cannot write it, then you know that you have to start. So that is how it goes. We all have to sharpen our writing from time to time. We keep writing. I remember there was a time I stopped writing for about 6 months. When I wrote something, I didn't believe that I wrote it because it was completely rubbish. So you cannot stop. So especially if you are doing PhD, you should be doing that. So it's an art. So you need to practice. You need to practice. If you stop, it goes away. You need to practice. I cannot write like the renowned professors because they have written so many articles. So they have put in place, they use the skill, how to write a descriptive statement, and it will reflect. Sometimes you read and it feels like you are seeing the thing. Sometimes you read and it feels like you don't understand anything. So all these things are skills that we need to. So now let's start. Let's get into what goes into writing. So the first thing you have to understand is structure. Please, people will tell you beauty is not relevant, beauty is not relevant, beauty is not relevant. I tell everybody it's a lie. Beauty is relevant in everything. The only issue is that what is nice differs. But there is also one thing that is a fact. What is nice to everyone. Please, you see, sometimes we need to be honest. When something is nice, it's nice. I've seen this true story, right? A pastor, very renowned pastor, who they were playing this awards room, song, Bottom Power. She gave. The pastor could not help himself. And I was sitting there, I said, Pastor, with the reading. You see, when something is good, when you play music, kids start dancing. Right? Nobody teaches kids how to dance. When things that comes with art, when it is nice, it is nice. You don't need anybody to tell you. If you see an artistic piece and it's nice, you don't need anybody to tell you. You just go, wow, this is nice. So there are some basic things that when they are nice, they are nice. Your writing should be nice. Like I said, it's an art. So your writing should be nice. When somebody sees what you are writing, when I pick the writing, just like that, I should feel like, wow, this is a good paper, without reading it. Before I start going to content. Now, what are some of the rules that you have to follow? Say what you are going to say, 10% introduction. You say what you are going to say in the introduction, 10%. You say it in the body, 80%. And then you say what you have said, 10%. Finish. There is only one thing, isn't it? I want to talk about Kofi. Introduction. I talk about Kofi. Body. I told you I'm going to talk about Kofi. Conclusion. So if you don't have that say, what you are going to say, there is nothing to talk about. So that is the first rule. Now there are situations where in some areas they will tell you that they will put some parts together. They won't have to go down, you understand why. They will put some parts together. So their introduction may be lengthy. So unless they tell you that, oh, combine some part of your literature review and your introduction together, follow this pattern, especially if you are writing thesis. In the case of thesis, you cannot let this thing go. You cannot write a thesis where your total number of pages is 100 and your introduction alone is 50 pages. It's not acceptable. Your introduction can be maximum 10 pages if you write 300 pages. Maximum 10 pages, you are finished. Because if you are doing a party and your introduction ceremony, the party is 3 hours party. Introducing guest speakers and welcoming speech alone is like 2.5 hours. Then the party is 30 minutes, you are finished. It doesn't make sense. So the introduction should be very, very brief. If you write a very brief and strong introduction, everybody will want to read your work. You will go into how to write this introduction. You will pick each one step by step. So that is the first rule. Structure your work. You will also later come to the cosmetics. I will talk about those things. But structure your work. Make sure that your work is very structured. Follow this rule. Unless you are told to do otherwise, you follow this rule. The next thing is abstract, the almighty abstract. That's the first thing you have to write here. And I tell you, it is one of the most difficult things to write. Don't deceive yourself. It should be made of a maximum 300. Maximum, don't go more than 300. In most cases, it's 150. So make sure the abstract is between 150 and 300 words. I've seen people write abstract of about 400 words. No. Unless you are told that you are submitting an extended abstract. If it's an extended abstract, then you can write up to some 500,000, fine. But if not, stay between 150 and 300. And that is where it becomes very, very difficult. Because in that same 150 to 300, you are supposed to talk about everything you have said in your work there. Yes, please. Can you speak louder?
Can you explain the extended abstract?
Okay, so extended abstracts are mostly required when you are doing a conference paper or sometimes a workshop paper, and then they will tell you to submit an extended abstract. So you talk about your whole research that you have conducted in about 1 page, and you send it to the conference. Which is different from when you have written a paper and you are writing the abstract section. If you have written a paper and you are writing the abstract section, never ever go more than 1 page. Whether it is a thesis, whatever you are writing, don't go more than 1 page. And you should keep to this. It should be a single paragraph. I've seen abstract with 2 paragraphs. There shouldn't be any 2-paragraph abstract. An abstract should always be a single paragraph. You should not have citations in your abstract. So the abstract should not contain any form of citation, no form of definitions. Don't define. You will see some abstract people say computer science is no. It is not an abstract that you are going to do definitions. The abstract should also be made of 3 main sections. The 3 main sections that you have in your abstract will be the purpose of what you are going to do. That's the background. Tell us about the background in our 2 sentences or 3 sentences. Move on to the method, the approach, how you did what you did. And then conclude, finish. What were the findings that you got? In some cases, you can add what are the implications of your findings. The implications of your findings. Don't go beyond this 3. Beyond this 4. So you can talk about what is supposed to be there, the purpose, the method, and the findings is supposed to be there. If you think you have more space, you can play around the implications of the findings, and then you talk about it. Now, if your abstract can tell the entire story, it's a good one. When you finish and you read the abstract and it can tell the entire story, then it's a good one. So what do? I always, and I'm sorry, I forgot to record, or I don't need to record. I think someone is recording. You are recording, right?
Yes, I am.
So that's fine. Yes, please.
Please, I'm told there are abstracts that are structured and others that are unstructured. In the sense that, for instance, you mentioned 3 ideas.
Yes.
That's the purpose, method,
Yes.
and then the finding. So in a structured abstract, you give a little heading. So let's say purpose.
Oh, okay. I'm getting what you are saying. Okay, so what he's talking about is that some journals, it's not a standard, but what some journals have done nowadays is that they will let you put your abstract into categories so that a reader can get it. In those instances, you find that there are a lot of the abstract is mostly more than 300 words. So what they will do is that background, method, evaluation, results, findings. So they want you to write. That looks more like an extended abstract. But don't do that in your thesis, no. And like I'm saying, until you have been told to do that, don't do that. So if it's a journal you are sending to, you see it as part of their requirement, and they will give you sections where to put each of these briefings. Right. Okay. So what I mean by if you can tell the story, then it's a good one, is that the person should read the abstract and know what you are going to do. No ambiguity about that. And know the findings, everything. So what I do, this is not a rule, but this is what I do, and I know it helps me a lot. The last thing I write is the abstract. Last abstract. After I finish everything, and I have an idea of what I did, I have the background in my head, then I will put that into writing. So this is an example of an abstract. So this is an example of an abstract. This is a complete abstract. Can somebody kindly read this for us? Angela, can you do us a favor? Loud. You can see. Angela, you are blind.
I can see, but I'm blind.
So I am better than you. But when I take off my glasses, I can see. So your blindness is at level 9. Can somebody help us with this?
Most developers of behavior change support systems, BCSs, employ BCS in their design. This paper presents a overall discussion concerning how analyzing the relationship between attitude towards target behavior, current behavior, and attitude towards change of maintaining behavior can facilitate the design of BCS. We describe a 3-dimensional relationship between attitude and behavior. Between attitude and behavior model, and demonstrate how it can be used to categorize users based on variations in levels of cognitive dissonance.
Okay, pause there. Now, if you can observe, you see that this up to this section, right, introduces an idea. Then the next sentence tells you what was done. Is that not true? So we describe a three-dimensional relationship between attitude and behavioral model. That's a three-dimensional model. And demonstrate how it can be used to categorize users based on variations in levels of cognitive disorders. So this is what we did. This is how we did it. Right. So continue.
The proposed model seeks to provide a method for analyzing the user content and the persuasive system design model. And it is implemented using existing DCS. We identify that although designers seem to address the various cognitive needs, this is not done purposefully or in a methodical fashion, which implies that many existing applications are targeting users not considered and design phase. As a result of this work, it is suggested that designers apply the 3D RAD model in order to design solutions for targeted users.
So you see that at a point results are coming in. Then the last part is telling the implications. So this one is a 4-part. The last part is talking about the implications. Now that we know this is what we can do. In brief, all your writing, whether it is 300 pages, 500 pages, should be this. So this is what you are going to break down into pieces and start talking about them. Taking into perspective what or who you are. Now, can someone tell me what type of writer is this guy? Is this somebody who believes that there is one truth? Is this somebody who believes that there are multiple versions of the truth? Or what? What is coming to mind? Just try. I mean, this one, there is no right or wrong answer. I've never even thought about it. Yes, then I should be out of my idea. This is an analytical guy. Why do you say so? So that is another thing that every researcher should learn. Every statement you make, you have to justify. Even when you want to drink water, you have to justify. So I'm drinking because I'm thirsty. That's why I'm thirsty, because I'm talking. So the why is so why?
In the abstract, you said the proposed model seeks to provide a method for analyzing the user content.
The proposed model is. Can you explain further? Oh, please, those online, you are not talking. Are you there?
Yes, okay.
So can you tell us something? Can you tell us something that is coming to mind? Madam Grace, giving Abigail, anything that is coming to mind. What do you think? Is this guy a positivist writer, an interpretivist, a critical writer, or what? How do you see this guy's research? What type of person would this person be? Oh, no one wants to try. Let's try. That's it.
The writer believes that multiple versions of
Writer believes that there's one.
the first thing says most developers. So it means there's a percentage of developers that has this particular belief system. But it's also seen there's another percentage that's in the different system.
But the writer is not saying that we are proposing another version of the truth. You see, suppose the writer is saying that in this state we propose another, or we propose an alternative solution. He's not proposing an alternative solution. I don't know, but the writer is making me look as if he is coming out with the solution. Is that what it is?
Well, he's also making a general statement.
Yes, he is making a general statement, but it's his findings and his approach that we are interested in. Because he's saying that we identify that although designers seem to address the various communities, this is not done purposefully or in a method. How do you pronounce it? methodical fashion, which implies that maybe existing applications are targeting users not considered at the design stage. As a result, the writer is telling you that people are doing things wrongly. He doesn't agree with what people are doing. It is only a positivist guy who will talk like that. Else, you should not start condemning what people are doing. I don't know whether you are getting my
Yes.
If the person is an interpretivist, right, the person will rather accept what others are doing and then come out with another idea that it can be done like this. But if the person starts condemning or telling people that what is happening is not right, but this is how it should happen, then the person is more of a positivist approach. The next thing is that when positivists are writing, in cases where they have to use pronouns, they would rather use we. If it's an interpretivist, you say I. So that is one easy way. If you are a positivist guy, please never use the word I. In fact, I is not preferred in writing. It's not preferred. But there are some cases where you are an interpretivist and you are writing, and you have nothing to do than to say I, because you did it. You put yourself into the state. The interpretivist guy will put himself or herself into the state. A positivist guy cannot do that. You have to be away from it. So it is really preferred that you will not even use we. So who can turn this sentence around? We describe the three-dimensional relationship between attitude and behavior and demonstrate how it can be used to categorize the space. And somebody turn it around without using the word we. Yeah.
The study describes.
The study describes yes. Can you come in?
Okay. So to demonstrate how users can be categorized based on variation levels, the three-dimensional relationships between attitude and behavior was demonstrated.
Thank you.
I think I agree.
That's true. Yes. You were also saying another one.
I'll say the study describes.
The study describes. You see it. So you can take the words out. We will go to how to take the words out from some of these things. You can take the words out and write it the way you want. Yes, please.
Following the response from the person on the virtual platform,
yes,
she sounded very passive, and I have had tools reminding me that you don't have to sound passive in research works and even formal writings.
Yes,
is that also accepted? Because this sounded correct, but when she turned it around, she ended with was demonstrated. They'll flag it as being a passive voice.
Yes, it is not wrong. Honestly, it is not wrong. It's just that when you sound passive, the writing does not sound confident. So that is why in some cases it is not perfect. But there are some cases where you cannot avoid it. So that's why you see what I like is, so the things that I'm talking about are the things that Grammarly will not do. You get it. So Grammarly will tell you are sounding passive, but sometimes you need to, because you want to make emphasis. When you get to situations where we have to be, you see, when we are writing academically, we have to say it as it is. If that is the only way of saying it, you have to say it like that. If it works, it works. So sometimes it's a challenge, but that is it's not wrong to sound passive. It's not wrong, but it depends on how you are presenting it. Most often, when you go passive, you become verbose. You use too many words, as compared to active, where you can be very, very straightforward. So that is why you have those challenges. So let's move on. I think now we are fine with abstract. So the key things that take home without it, yes, please.
Doc, I'm a bit. Sometimes I want to understand whether sometimes the work that you do can change. For example, you are saying this guy is a positive. Maybe he did the work, he realized all these previous people who were proposing this and this method, they were wrong. Actually, they were wrong. It's not like you want to condemn their work, but they were wrong. And now you have come out with a fact. So you want to write it in such a way that
it communicates that. Now the reason why you are seeing them to be wrong, see, I like that, is because you are a positivist guy. You see, this is the thing.
That's the result of the work.
No, good. You see, that is what we are talking about, your belief. So you forget that it is your belief that is making you think that way. Are you listening?
Yes.
Who is the Son of God?
Jesus Christ.
Any Muslim here? Any Muslim? Or somebody who don't have any Muslim? Hindu? Christian?
But in fact, everybody who believes in Jesus is a son of God.
No, you see, because you are Christian, when they ask you, who is the Son of God? You say is what? Even when you come to Jehovah's Witness, anybody here from Jehovah's Witness? Jehovah's Witness guy will tell you that Jesus Christ is not the Son of God, it's an angel. So you see how the beliefs affect us. So you are making that decision because you are positivist guy.
But look, people have been saying like this is science.
Yes.
And whatever you find,
yes,
if you're able to prove it,
yes,
then it defeats whatever other people.
Exactly.
Yes.
But you are proving
like
that because you have a fundamental belief. What is this? This is equal to what? Are you sure? No. Thank you. If you are to the Bible, so when I ask 1 plus 1 is what? And you say 2, I change. No, it's not 2. It's 1 0. If you say it's 1 0, I say no, it's 2. So you see, there are more. We have to. I like it that you are bringing this thing. This is what affects our writing. Sometimes we get confused and we don't know what we are talking about and what we are arguing for. If you believe things in a particular way, let it guide your writing and write to demonstrate that this is your thought about it. If you don't believe in that way, then don't also go condemning. Yes, without proof. When we say something is scientific, I'm not doing pure research methods. I will have taken you through that. But I have something on methods of knowing when we are get to literature review. But when we say something is scientific, it does not mean that that thing is the truth. This is what people miss. It means that we have facts. It is auditable. We can follow through and get the facts. In science, it's actually like there is no truth. Because the truth varies. About 6,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, the world was flat. That was the truth, isn't it? It was believed that the world was flat. All calculations and everything that they were doing actually shows that the world was flat. Until Galileo and his guys saw that the world is not flat. And it changed. There is something that is happening now that most of us don't even have an idea. What is defined as the SI unit for a kilogram has changed. Yes, we have changed it. We have changed the calculation from the physical kilogram that was placed in the US, that they used to calibrate everything, to using Planck's constant for the calculation of a kilogram. So that means that what was a kilogram, if this thing was 3 kilograms, now it is no more 3 kilograms. It has changed. The only thing is that the fraction is small. Between me and you, it's not significant. But those trading in gold is significant. I hope you are getting the logic. So when we say something is the truth, it is the truth based on your perspective. That is why when I started, I was talking about what? Belief. I am not saying that you should, this belief is not, I believe that my research is good. No. This belief is not like, I believe that, no. But the fundamental belief that you are building your thinking on is what we are talking about. That is what should be guiding your discussion. So if you are somebody who wants to say that you are flexible with the truth, right? So you only talk about the truth, the different dimensions of the truth. So this one is there, this can be done, this can be done. I also think that we can do this. I studied 15 people and then I saw that this is there. In fact, when it comes to even your discussion, that is where it becomes very, very important. Because if you are not careful, you'll be missing it out. And then they will say, no, you are not straight on point. So all your thinking is not wrong. But you are thinking like that, I'm telling you, you are thinking like that because you're a positivist guy. Most of us are positivists. You go to social sciences, you find a lot of people who are prospects. Interestingly, you find a lot of ladies being interpreters because they see things from different perspectives. That is why God gave them hair, and still you don't like it, you add something. That's different. But that is not true. You add something. But you know the problem with me. We are too logical that sometimes our logic doesn't good. Yes, please.
Please, a quick one.
Yeah.
I understand the fact that he's considered as a positive because he's condemning other people's work and presenting his for that matter. But the fact that he said when we should paraphrase we described it, the guy said the study describes. But the guy initially said this paper.
Yeah.
So you can't keep saying the study. You might want to use I or we, and that doesn't make you.
Okay, I'm getting your point. So you get the flow. How sometimes, but you see, it's not every situation that you use the state. Sometimes you can write that saying the state. It was observed. Sometimes you write it was observed. It was concluded. So it's not every time that you actually say the state. I agree with you 100%. But you see, when you are writing, you should not be using the same thing throughout. But like I'm saying, try as much as possible to avoid it. Try as much as there are some situations that you cannot avoid it. But if you can, take it out. It will make your reading more formal. Let's go to the introduction. The introduction, I said, should be 10%. And in that 10%, you should be able to introduce or indicate the scope of literature, descriptive. So now we are coming to the 4 types and when to use them. So introduce the scope of literature, descriptive. Why am I saying descriptive? You are describing what is there. You are describing the literature. But please, I will talk about this again, but I'll keep mentioning it because I keep seeing it in people's writing. Don't report what is there. What I mean by not reporting what is there, don't tell us. A study conducted by James Kublenu and this study this. In that study, they pick 3 things, and then if I want to know that, I will go to that paper and read it finish. I don't need you to tell me. Rather, draw inferences from those papers to make a case. That is what we all do it. We all report. Sometimes you are short of words and then you find a way and then you report more. But make sure you are not reporting too much. Else it becomes annoying. If I am going to read what others have said from your work, then I will go to them. I don't want you to tell me what others have said in words exactly. I want you to make a position, take a stand on what they are talking about. So in your introduction, you should be able to give us the background description. Let us know what is going on within the area. Let the person fall in love with the paper. Let the person get the idea. You have to also make a claim. Demonstrate the importance of your research. Again, you are going to go critical. So you are going to draw inferences. Briefly, you do it proper in your literature review. By the initial stages, draw inferences to show that there is a gap, to show that there is a problem. A study conducted by Wiafe and Co. actually indicated that people use ABC to create this. However, Kwame Mensah has also demonstrated that you cannot use A and B to do the same thing. This therefore indicates that there is an issue with how to create a website. I am building an argument. This is what this guy is saying. This is what the other guy is saying. There is a problem. We need to connect. There are situations where there is the issue is not an issue of a problem. For instance, if you are doing reviews, systematic reviews and things like that, you may see that you want to talk about what has not been explored. So even though there is enough literature on A, B, C, D, nobody has looked at E, F, G. Meanwhile, we need E, F, G to be able to continue the English alphabet. Therefore, for this study, my interest is in E, F, G. I am now going to explore to find out what is there. So you have built the relevance of your work. You see the words, there are certain words that you have to use as an academic. When I started writing, my trick was that I write all these words. I always tell students to do that, but some don't believe it. You should not start like a class 1 boy or a class 1 girl if you want to do proper writing. I will list all the words somewhere, and then whilst I'm writing, I'm looking for where to give this word and come and put it in my writing. I'll be doing that. I kept doing it until I became comfortable with it. So you have to find how to connect certain arguments. Bring this one and bring the other one, and then form a point. If A says A says that we have to put on glasses, B says that we have to put on a blue glass, then what? You want to understand. What does it imply? Sometimes you just look at somebody's research and then you make arguments out of the research. You have to make arguments to build yours. So if your introduction is not doing that, then it is not helping. You make a claim. This is what. And if you are not making any claim, it becomes very, very difficult for people to appreciate your work. You should take a stand. Whether you are interpreting this or whatever, you should take a stand. You should be able to say that I research in this area is lacking. This has not been done. If the stance may be something that someone has done and you are referencing the person, you talk about I want to reference and when not to reference. But you should take a stand. Once you take a stand, then you make your point. Then you offer an overview of how your work is presented. People should know that this is how I am going to talk about the work. So you see, by the time you finish this, you have said what you are going to see. So the person reads your introduction and he's got a very clear idea of what you are going to do. So this is another example. If somebody can quickly take us through the reading and then we move on. Somebody, I want someone who can read very fast. Or we all read in our heads. Behavior change support systems is the use of socio-technical information. There are some things here that I want us to observe. So, behavior change support systems is the use of socio-technical information systems with properties that seek to form, alter, or reinforce attitude, behavior, or an act of compliance without the use of coercion or deception. This is cited. And why am I citing this? That's the question. Because these are not my works. This is something that someone has done. Somebody conducted a research and defined this. So if I am borrowing the idea, I have to let everybody know that it is not coming from me. This is where the challenge is, and this is what gets people confused. Now you see that the same definition follows. It is the use of technology to change users' attitude or behavior to a predetermined one. This is where the problem starts. So someone is defining. He gives about 4 different definitions and he cites 4 different people. That is fine. Someone is citing. You define and then you emphasize or you explain. That is fine. But if the definitions are the same, don't cite somebody else. Put all together and then give only one cite, 2 citations. Now if you look at this, the 2 and 3. It means that this whole idea, this concept, has been said by these 2 guys. I don't know whether you are getting my argument here. You don't have to write, someone may write, it is the use of technology to change users' behavior, and then a predetermined one, full stop. You can also use it, it is something that is actually used to change behavior. You are saying this, you don't want to hear that. These 2 sentences are different. If you look at this definition and you look at this, you see that there's a difference. I don't know whether you are looking at, you are getting the idea. This one actually brings the import of what is in the first one. So this one says that it is the use of technology. Now here it is not saying that it is the use of technology. But here it is saying there's a difference between technology and social technology. So there's a difference between the 2 definitions. That is where you do this sort of thing. Else, don't. And if this guy has also said it is the use of social technology, you should have added, just define this and add 1 different. There, finish. So that is how you take care of these things. Then accordingly, instead of achieving user target attitude or behavior as a side effect of using technology, systems are designed to intentionally change attitude, behavior of people. This is explaining further, because the assumption is that whoever is reading this may not understand everything. So you try to elaborate more. So this becomes your words. This becomes your words. Right. Now, if you are reading this paper and you decide to cite and you write this one, the first one with citation 1, please don't cite this guy. He did not say it. He is telling you that somebody said it. If you do this, don't cite him again. The third one, this one you cannot even cite him. Accordingly, you see, even though he's not cited anybody, but he has not said anything. He's only explaining what the first two said. The only things you cite, I will explain that further, but when the things come to it, I will mention it. The only things you cite are the results and findings of other people's work. If the person has not conducted a study to draw conclusions on something, you don't cite the person. He's just saying it. If you think that you want to cite this, the only thing you can say is that, as explained. So this one, you are saying the person explained it. But he has not said something that is a fact. So you can continue and say, as explained, behavior change support system is that, and as explained, or this guy also explained that, then that one you are fine. But don't state it as a fact. Let everybody know that he is only explaining something that we already know. I hope you are getting the trick on how to connect some of these things. So continue. The next section of your
So on the previous page.
Yes.
Concerning the citation.
Yes.
Is it possible to cite somebody who has cited another and just indicated it? Like if this was written by Kofi,
yes.
Could I say that and the citation 1 is by Amma? Could I say that Amma has cited it?
No, don't do that. People do that when you cannot find a paper. That is the only condition where you can do that. But this is what is interesting. Years ago, without technology, it would have been difficult to get some of these papers. But now with technology, you have no excuse to say that, as cited by Kofi, partner said no. If I'm looking at your paper and you do that, I'll tell you you are being lazy. Go and look for the paper. Because the reason is that, you see, there's something that we have to understand. If you are a researcher, in this, at least in this university, and in most universities, there shouldn't be any paper that you cannot find. It is not your job. If you are looking for a particular paper and you have used all resources and you are not getting it, tell your supervisor. The supervisor will write to the library will get it for you. That is why they are there. We don't give them what to do. That is why they are there. In every university, there's a section that is supposed to get papers that students want. So years ago, where it was difficult, sometimes you have come across the document, you heard about it in a paper hard copy, and you don't have online to go and get this document, right? What you have to do is that if you write to them and they still don't get it, then in that case, you will say, as cited by. But not in modern times. If the paper is there, we have to see it. And you see, it is very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. I think I said this in my last presentation, that I've made certain mistakes, and I will never advise anybody to make that mistake. You read the paper, the guy is saying this. I think this guy Felix was telling me the other day that it has also happened to you recently also. It happens, so don't play with it. You read the paper, right? You see the guy saying that one is arguing or making this statement. You pick the same thing, paraphrase it, and just put one there so that it doesn't look like you have plagiarized. Maybe that's not what one said. Then you are now going to be held accountable for that statement. It's no more the paper you read. It happened to me during my PhD when my supervisor called me. In one case, I met the person who did the statement, and the person told me point blank that is not what I said. Because I have not read that paper. I picked it from somewhere. In another case, my supervisor called me and asked me, I said, have you read this paper? I said, yes, can you send the paper to me? Whole day. I was just so he later to me anyway. That's not what the guy said. I have the paper, and he sent the paper to me. So from that day, I will go and look for that paper. That is the best. So you see, the slightest mistake, the problem with academic writing is that if you make a mistake, it stays forever. In account, there is a saying that that is what it means. Because this thing is documented. So that is why you are not supposed to make a mistake. 10 million years to come, somebody will read. And the person will see that you are telling a lie. In fact, you may be dead and they can even take your degree from you.
Yes, the guy defined it in a certain way. And I wrote and started somebody. I wrote to the person that I've read this paper. You define this in this way.
It happens, yes. No, if you write, you will see this. There are papers that I have read that have been cited. And I read and I see that this is not what I said. You could see that this is not what you said. But the person has cited me for that. Well, once it comes towards my citation, I will go and ask the person. But I will not claim it anywhere that is what I said. In any case, in that paper, I did not write it for the person. So if the person makes a mistake, it does not mean that I have made that mistake. Yeah.
Can you cite one and then cite this paper in addition? So let's say
the paper that you are writing.
No. For example, this paper has cited definition 1.
Yes, definition 1.
And now I want to also use definition 1 in my sentence.
In your sentence.
Yeah,
you are writing.
Am I writing? Sorry.
Yes.
Am I writing?
Yes.
Can I cite 1 and then cite this paper's paper?
No. He has not said anything. He's only reporting what somebody said.
Okay, so I can only cite 1.
Yes. You have to cite. You don't cite this paper. You cite the original author, the primary source.
Yes, so I was saying, can you cite the original author and cite these people?
No, you don't cite this guy.
Okay.
I don't know whether you are getting my point.
Okay.
You can only because you see, the reason why the idea of can you cite this paper is coming in is that you are making it as if this is the paper you read and then you wrote your paper. No, that is wrong. You don't read one paper to write your paper. So you have to read this paper one. When the person makes a statement, I'll come to that when we are doing the informal sessions. When you are writing and the person makes a statement, you have to actually go and look for that paper and read and confirm. For all you know, when you go to that paper, you're not really interested in definition from that paper. There will be something else in that paper that will interest you more, and you will want to write that one. Right. I'll come to the practical. Yes, please.
Please, what if, like just like what you were saying, what if in putting the definition, like the new paper you are reading has added something like a little bit to the definition? You still just have to cite only the primary author, or you have to add this since the person had added a little something to it?
Good. So in that case, you write to where the person defined and then you continue. Now I have a similar sentence in what you are saying. So let's use that. So those online, can you move to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? I think the 8th line, just after citation 4. You see, in most cases, its definition and domain is limited to the features executed by the system. These cases combine the positive attributes of interpersonal interaction and mass communication to achieve optimal persuasion. That is somebody, right? But then somebody else has added, and they should be capable of demonstrating a change and or reinforcement or shaping of either behavior or attitude. So you see one sentence, but one part of the definition is from one guy, and the other part of the definition is from another guy. So I don't know if you are getting it. This is what you are talking about. If the author, yes.
Also another thing. Okay, what if maybe the paper you are reading, and you go to the primary source, and then the way we have put it, the new paper you are reading puts it in a better way than the primary source. In that case, you also cite the new paper or just the primary.
The main thing is the idea. It is not how the person has written it and the English is nice. We are interested in who brought the idea. So if the next person who is explaining the previous one is writing it better and is adding new construct or new key terms to it, then that is fine. If it's just a jargon of language, you can't do that. But if he's adding a new idea, so the person is now putting some ideas or explaining certain things that people have never thought of, then you can say that this. So the person says that DCS is used for communication to achieve optimal persuasion, right? But so this is what you are reading. He's citing 5. And then the guy is adding that maybe more importantly, it is the interactions that are relevant, but not the communication. That is a new definition that the person is making. Are you getting it?
Yes.
Because the person, there's a difference between communication and interaction. In academics, our writing means exact words. There's a difference between communication and interaction. I can interact without communicating. Is that what? You can interact with somebody without communicating. If I hit you, it's an interaction. Is it a communication? No. So the person is trying to add something, another perspective. In that case, you have to cite the guy. That's the one you are reading. I hope that is okay. Please feel free to ask questions. Because after this, if you are a student and you write and you make these mistakes, I will send it back. That is the way. I won't read it. I'll listen to it. So if you follow, then you move to the next part of the introduction. So you write that kind of thing, then you get to a point where you are now going to start building arguments of what is going on. So however, the model does not suggest specific guidelines concerning how to take those various steps that it processes. And even more importantly, it does not explicitly address how DCSS can be designed to adapt to changes in users' cognition as they progress towards the target behavior. Now, the person has started building arguments. He's telling you the flaws. So, this is very important in your introduction. You should be able to point out the flaws. What is the gap? What is missing? It should come out. So that when the person reads out, the moment you read, you say, okay, so this is the problem. You are making the reader understand the problem. Then you try to sometimes, that's why I say it's an act. Sometimes you try to bring in some solutions that people have tried to propose. But then each solution, you punch it. Each solution, you punch it. So even though I'm telling you that the solutions are there, I'm telling you the flaws with the solutions. In brief. So that when you do that, it makes the reader know that it's not as if I don't know. I know. Because sometimes you'll be talking about a particular solution, or you may not talk about a particular solution, which the reader knows. And the reader will immediately say that, you will talk about all this. If you are saying presentation, you have to use a projector, HD. But now you have 4K. So why are you not talking about 4K? Right. Immediately, I'll start thinking you don't know your stuff. But if I mention 4K and tell you that, projectors, you have standard definition, high definition. In more recent times, there is 4K and 8K. But the problem with 4K and 8K is that they are not compatible with so and so. That one, the person, okay, so these are the problems with 4K and 8K. Then he's beginning to fall in line with you. The moment the reader starts loving your thinking, you are persuading the reader. You are getting the reader to like your work. The reader should every time get something new that he doesn't know. If I'm reading the paper, the only thing that motivates me to read is that I'm reading something that I don't know. If I'm reading what I know, I will not want to read. So you see what makes it a challenge. And this is a supervisor who is an expert in your area. And he's likely to know almost everything that you have read. And you have to be able to write so that the supervisor is now reading something he doesn't know. Immediately it means that you have to know more than your supervisor. But that is the beauty of it. You see, sometimes it's not as if the supervisor might have read a particular paper, but the approach with which you will explain the paper will make the paper look new. He might not have been thinking about a particular direction of the same paper. But then when you read and then you bring in that perspective, immediately the supervisor becomes, that is what every reader is looking for. The moment you start making those things, then it becomes. So it continues and then it tells you the as if, like, generally research in DCS has neglected studies on how to change users incrementally from an act of compliance to active change through behavior change. Say that this is implemented, rather they either aim to go, when the person makes this statement, you may think that no, this guy is not telling the truth. But the writer immediately comes to tell you what they have been doing. So it's drawing your attention to it, that all the things that you've been reading, this is what they are doing. Rather, they aim to distinguish behavior types or suggest how designers can imitate other existing systems. So now you let the reader know that, hey, this is not happening. They are rather looking at this. In doing so to address the need for a method that can efficiently do this, we are proposing this. Then the reader now understands. Then the last part of your introduction will now focus purely on the structure of the paper, how you are presented your paper. So the structure of this paper is as follows. This one you can use different languages. Some will say in this paper we start with a discussion, but the next section in the paper is a discussion, followed by this and then that. The way you write it, but you have to let the reader know how the work is going to flow. Right. We move next to literature review. But then let's do this task. Now those online, I've sent you some images. So let's put ourselves into groups. You will do this task. It's a very interesting task. The pictures you have makes up a story. Right. So this is the idea. When we are giving charts, how do we put it together to form a story? The pictures you have, I think this one, the teachers will do better. The pictures you have contains a story. Try and arrange it. So the PDF files that I'm giving you, it is actually not the way the story is. Can you try and arrange it to get the story? Without any words. Can you look through the picture and arrange it? Do it as a team, as a team. Don't miss the first half because every team has
this guy.
So let's give ourselves like 5 minutes and then we'll continue. Try and arrange them to form the story.
Welcome to the gardens. This should be okay. This one's completed, but it should typically be first, I guess. Oh, please. Wait, this one is.
So what you can do is, I think,
so this one.
If you are using PDF, you can use the PDF to arrange it. Drag and drop.
I know this one is suits an arrival. Okay, this one too is nice. You know, people are coming, so others are also. So these people are telling these people you are welcome.
So this.
Oh wait!
I think these people are done.
This one, this will be the last. This will be the first.
They are giving examples.
Yes. No, check the images on it. See the animals on it. So we've seen the first and the last. We have less than 4 minutes. This is the first. So it has to communicate a story of that of some sort. So let's see. When they arrive, what will be the most likely thing to happen? He's already having a bite. This one, they are running away with the food. This one too is also running away with the food. So most likely this will come next. Yeah. Then he now gets some of the food. And then he smiles at getting his food. Oh no, this one will come. This one. No, not yet. He's enjoying his food at some point. Then he sees this one. Okay.
Let's give some to this.
Wait. So he picks one. He goes here, moves here, comes here, and then he gets to this one. Did that animal steal the food from me?
And then I'm sure after this, he gives it to you.
Yes.
You can put the mouse, you can put your mouse on it so that you get the flow. There's a mouse here, you can just put it on it.
Then these people also saw her. But where does this one come? Then, if that one got it, where did this book come in? Because I know this one comes, then this one follows. So this one steals it. So you see, at this point,
Okay, wait.
Oh, okay. Okay, so no, this will be the last one. This one will come before this one. So this is how the story goes. I figured it out. This one was hiding there. He will show this one to them. This one will steal it away. Are you following? And then his colleagues will chase him back. They will chase him back. And then when they return, which one is this one? This is the last one, right? When they return, there's a missing piece, alright, but this one will now steal this away from him. I'm moving in that particular order, actually. So he runs back. And then
This one is taking it from me. So I think this one will be chasing.
you took it from him, then this one finally gets it. But how he got it is where we don't see. But then again, we saw him hiding there somewhere. And then the parents now finish and then they leave.
Anyone finish?
We have some proposition. We have what we believe is the the story, the true story. Yes.
Please, those online, any suggestion?
Oh, but we can review and still.
Oh, okay. wind up.
This one finally is
Yes. He has a souvenir. What I think is this should come. They chased him and then they took it away from him. And then how he managed to get it back, I don't know.
They chased him up there.
So they were all here.
Yes.
And then he picked it.
He's still
They chased him up there. So it's like he's going down with them. So he came down here again. They still chasing him. So they took it, they finally took it from him. And this guy was
How they were able to, how they were all able to take it away from him for him to become Mr. Columbus. That was always that took him.
Okay, so let's go through.
This one doesn't see because one of them stole it and he's run away with it. This narrative they are following. But between this, after this one,
So then what do you propose?
this is where I don't know which one to come But so this way, yeah, they chased him, probably took it back. And how he managed to get it back, no one knows. But then we know.
Okay, so let's go through. We can sit down. Have you gone through the drill? So your drill is worse than mine. So let me tell you how I got this stuff. Whilst I was doing my PhD, and then I think in my second year or so, I've done some papers. But this same guy that I was talking about, Stephen Gulliver, was my second supervisor. I went to him and I told him that Stephen, I'm struggling to write my PhD story in a very good way. He said, okay, I will give you a task. He gave me these papers. He gave it to me that I should take home. When I'm able to tell the story, then I come. This thing was with me for months. I could not solve it. And I went to him. So don't get worried if you cannot do it in 10 minutes. I mean, I highly doubt whether. So try and cross check as we go through. So the first thing is this. Welcome. We went in there. And then they started putting things together.
Oh, okay. So you missed it.
Then.
Wow.
First came.
Now, where is this one?
One
Descriptive. That's how much is.
Run with it. While we were going, we have to start coming back.
So this one
Why?
is come. You see what I said?
Okay.
So that means
What took it from
this
them?
and this are
Going
missing.
back for it again. And now that we were gone, we have to say.
Okay, so this one.
While they were going, one hiding behind the fifth one of it. Now, there is another one, but we don't have that. There is another one that you can actually tell the story from different versions. And I wish we could have had it. Because the concept is that you may have a story, but if you don't understand what the story is about, it is almost impossible to put them together. Now, I know some will get up to a point, right? And then, so that is the idea. It's very, very difficult to just wake up in a day and think that you can comfortably write your.
You are already based on our beliefs.
Exactly. You arrange it based on what you think is right, and it may or may not be right. So let's move on and then talk about the review. This is another section that is very, very difficult. Please, those online, are you seeing the screen that I'm sharing?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So this is the second part of the writing. I don't want to say this is also, but this is another difficult section. It starts looking very, very simple until you start writing. And this is where you have not read enough thing comes in. If one advice that I would give to anybody doing research is that approach your research as articles, and you will always be fine. Instead of working on your research as a monograph, doing everything and then reporting it, pick your research in sections, and each one handle it as a separate research. Finish, publish it, and you have a story to tell. Move from the findings, move to the next stage, publish it, you have a story to tell. If you do it like that, it makes the writing easier. Else, you have to write about 60 pages of literature review coming from where? Your head. And you see that most of the things that you are writing about, you don't even remember. So I will show you the formal way, and I will show you the good method that I'm using to write my literature review. In those who have been in my research methods class, they know of it already. It's a very good method, but it works. By the time you realize your literature review is on point and you've written it, there is no formula. So don't go and say somewhere that I have a formula for writing literature review. It's my own formula that I came out with. But what you really take, the first thing is that this section of the manuscript should provide the background information. Now you see that here it's likely we are going to repeat our introduction, because the introduction talks about background. But we are going to expand it and go into detail. So if you don't have a lot of information, that's okay. You won't have anything to say. If you've read only one or two papers, you won't have anything to say. Take some more on the slides. I've mentioned that don't start writing literature review until you've read about 50 articles. Now, when we say 50 articles, this is the thing. When we say 50 articles, we don't mean that you have read 50 articles. It will end up translating to about 200 articles. Because the 50 articles are the 50 core articles of your work. As you start reading, you will see a lot of charts that you won't count as one of the papers you are reading. But there are some papers that when you read, you can know that this one, it is talking directly to my work. I hope you are getting my point. For instance, and I always use the football thing, because Ghanaians love football, so I use the football concept and it works for me. And I keep saying that. Before I can stand anywhere and start talking about Chelsea and Arsenal, describing their match in detail, making analysis about it, I cannot watch just 2 matches. I hope you are getting me. The reason why you can talk about who is going to win Bundesliga or La Liga or Premier League or English Premier League, right? English Premier League. The reason why I can talk about all of them is because you've been watching them. You like football. Good. So who is likely, or who is likely to win the English Premier League?
Somebody else.
Somebody else. So which one are they playing?
La Liga.
La Liga. So who is likely to win?
Likely.
You see, who is likely to win American basketball this year?
No clue.
You can't. Because you don't have any clue about it. If you meet somebody who is watching basketball, the person can tell you.
He watches.
You'll be watching. Who is likely to win?
Brooklyn Nets.
You see, I have not even heard the name before.
Exactly the point.
The next point is, when we start watching basketball, like I played basketball for some time, so when I start watching basketball, I will understand the communication. If you take me to cricket and I'm watching, I won't get a clue. We mostly know about football because most of us have been watching football. So if you have not been open to the field, everything they are writing will be gibberish. So until you get to a point where you start understanding the papers you are reading, you have not read enough. So that is, you have not read enough. When we say you have not read enough, you should get to a point. You see, when you start reading, let's be honest, you read the paper, what is this guy saying? Is that not true? You read out, what is this guy saying? What happens is that your brain is now connecting the dots. Don't be discouraged as you read. As you keep going, what is this guy saying? See, when you start watching football, you don't appreciate what you are watching. If you like today, try putting yourself into tennis. I remember some years ago, I had a friend who loved tennis. So every time I would go to his house, he's watching tennis. When I go and I start watching, this guy is mad. He would throw his sticks around as well. As I kept on watching, about a month or two, I started following the thing, and I was getting interested in the thing. I would come and say, oh, so today who is playing? Is it Andy Murray? I got into it. As soon as I stopped going to his house, I don't even remember what is happening in the tennis championship. It is the same thing with research. Let the articles, before you can write, you see, these are the prelims, these are the facts. Before you can start writing your literature, you should get to the stage where you wake up and the first thing you are thinking about is reading a paper. And the reading of the paper is not because you are just reading the paper, but it's because you are interested in something. Like you get up and want to read graphic, the days. It's like you get up and want to listen to UTV or Peace FM to know what is going on in Ghanaian politics. Before you can start writing literature, you should get to that stage. That is why it is very important that you should have your research be very, very to the point. It's only one thing that you are interested in, so that your readings are defined. Else, you cannot write because the things are not connecting in your head. That is the first point. That is the first point. So that I will later show you the good way where you can read about 4 or 5 papers and you can start writing. I like that because that helps you, catapults you to a level, and immediately you can build on it and build on it. You will build some confidence. But apart from that, this is the way. Read till you know that it's ready now. Read till you can talk about the subject as we are speaking. You can talk about it confidently. Read till you know the people who are writing. Like in football, I have a friend who knows the wives of the coaches and their children and their grandchildren. So it's the same thing. You read till you know the people. In fact, if you are doing research and you are serious, the people, the scholars in your area, you know them. You know them to the point that some of them, you know their family. Yes, that is how it works. You write to them. If the person it's an association you are joining. So if you start seeing that somebody is doing something on neural network and then you admire the guy so much, you start communicating with the guy. Of course, not without talking to your supervisor. Before you talk to any scholar in your area, please, once you start working, you should talk to your supervisor. Research or a researcher, this is the first thing you should have in your head. It's not only in Ghana, everywhere. As a researcher, you are an apprentice. Just like people go and they learn mechanic. I tell people that the concept of the 3 years and the 4 years, you see it in the mechanics. If you want to learn how to repair fridge, 3 years, 4 years. If you go and you are smart, you can finish in 3 years. If you are not smart, if you take it to 10 years, you are still there. It's the same thing in research. It's like apprenticeship. If your master is working with somebody in the yard, even though we are all in the yard, they all have different philosophies. They all behave differently. If you are not careful and you start mingling with people, you may have problems for yourself. The first rule is that you went there for your degree. You didn't go there to go and invent. I always say this. People don't take it serious. I was told the same thing. When I applied for PhD, my supervisor called me and asked me, I was talking so many things, on wild ideas. If I tell you, laugh at me. I think I was crazy there. See, when you are crazy, you have a lot of ideas in your head, which are not real. I was telling my supervisor that I want to come out with a persuasive room where when you put prisoners in it, it will reform them. So the technology should reform the prisoners. I said, Isaac, that is very interesting. But let me ask you a question. Are you here to do a PhD or you are here to invent something? Said, I'm here to do a PhD. Then go and do PhD. Immediately told me that what you are talking about is not PhD. See, we should get these things very, very clear. It helps us in shaping our research. Until your research is shaped, you cannot write. Because you are too broad in the head that you don't even know what you are talking about. So pick something that is small, that will encourage you to read around a very small area. I always say that pick about 2 or 3 key domains and combine the keywords. It is easier for you to say that I am doing a research in computing and philosophy than to say that I'm doing a research in philosophy. It's difficult. You think that it's just one thing. You go into philosophy and almost everything you know has been done. So how are you going to find something to? So you keep reading and keep reading and keep reading, you won't find anything to write. So you'll be 1 year and you've not written a single line of your literature review. So you have to read till you are confident. That's the first thing. The second rule is that the literature review should establish the importance of your research. So you have to be able to be argumentative, critical. So you're going to combine, you have to combine descriptive, argumentative, critical. Sometimes we even have to be persuasive. So that we try to convince the reader that what I'm doing is actually very relevant. Then you have to demonstrate that you are familiar with the area. This is perhaps the most difficult thing. How do you write for the reader to know that this guy knows his stuff? This guy knows what he's talking about. You have to be able to do that. And then you show that there's a genuine research gap. There is something to learn. There is something that we need to work on. You have to show that. So to make it interesting to read, you should not report. I'll come back to this again. You should not report nor describe previous things. If the reader wants to know that, he will go to that paper and read. So this is where it starts becoming difficult. Yes,
like
can you speak louder so they can hear you?
How about you are working on maybe a systematic review and then you have to tell what other people.
Good. So we talk about our previous presentation was on systematic reviews, but I will talk briefly about it here. In systematic reviews, you don't report what people have done. No. You are not supposed to be reporting what people have done in a systematic review. You are supposed to analyze what people have done. So we have 15 people who have worked on this. 13 people have worked on that. What does it mean? Your position comes in. Every time you are writing an academic paper, we are more interested in, so what do you think, than what others are saying. You see, in Ghana, we do too much of CSA. What are you saying? Claim it. So this guy is saying that. This guy is saying that. When I compare the two, this is what I think is right. Then there is something to cite you. Else, you are only reporting what is there. So even in systematic reviews, you don't report. So don't report. That sometimes you find yourself reporting. We all do that. But as much as possible, keep it in your head that you are not supposed to report. Don't tell us that a study conducted by Kofi Mensah is this. He used this method. If you are talking about a method that he used, then you are going to use that statement to make a point that because he used this method, he did not get the proper results. Or the method that the person used is not proper. I hope you are getting it. Else, why are you telling us the method? It's not important. Every single, like I said, every single sentence you mention in your paper should make sense. It will be connecting to something that we want to talk about. Else, don't talk about it. So don't report. That should be the first rule. Don't report. Bring the ideas. Bring the key ideas that they are talking about. Find the contradictions. And then talk about the contradictions. Talk about those who are supporting others. So you have, because here you are talking about theory. Please, this is one thing that I forgot to mention. No research. Don't let anybody deceive you. No research on earth, proper research, can be conducted that way. The issue is that sometimes people don't even understand the theories that they are using in their research. So they will tell you, oh, as for this area, I don't need theory. It's not true. There is no area, I am yet to see any area that a researcher can argue that there is no theory. Even in carpentry, there is theory. There is no research on earth without theory. So this is where you are arguing on people's philosophical and theoretical understanding. Any research without theory is like consultancy. That's the difference between research and consultancy. If I want to do, if the University of Ghana hires me to come out with how to do landscaping here, I'm a consultant, right? So the knowledge that I know, I put it into use, and I say, okay, let's plant yellow flowers here, green, finish. Consultant. If I'm a researcher, the University of Ghana tells me, find a solution of how to beautify this place, I should have a theory. So I should be able to say that the concept is that when people stand 15 meters from a building, they see red more than they see green. So based on that, I am going to put red here. That is the justification. I've always been using one thing as an example. Recently, some of our television stations have been doing, but you don't understand why they do that. Have you observed, if you watch CNN, Al Jazeera, BBC, and the rest, every time they have the screen, right, the newscaster is presenting, or the anchor is presenting, you see that the person is at the tail end of the screen, and about 2/3 of the screen is left blank. I don't know whether you observe it. Yeah. If this is your screen, you see that the person is somewhere here, and this whole big side is there blank. Have you observed that? The big television stations, those ones I'm talking about, the screen is there, but the person is always put at one part, not in the middle. They never put the person in the middle. It's called the law of the text. It's in arts, it's in mathematics. The law of the text. When things are placed at that point, it looks nicer and people see it more. So they are not just shooting. Watch the Hollywood movies. You see that when they are putting it on the actor, they will come and then the person is positioned at an angle. And the whole place, it creates a visual impression in your head. So there is a theory behind almost everything. So when you are writing, what you are doing in your literature review is that you are pulling ideas, the theories, from different perspectives. Some to support your work, some to build an argument to challenge others' work, and some to make a claim that there is a need for something to be done. That is all that you are doing. So that is how your writing should be in your literature review. Don't report the statement. Don't report what others have done. So you see, if you are doing this very well, your literature review will be using about 200 articles. Because you are pulling ideas from different places to make a point. And you are building your point. So you don't you argue, you compare findings, you take a stand, you refute some findings. You argue. So this way you'll be using certain words. That in this, I argue that this word is that. This one doesn't hold. Then you are making arguments. Again, positivist, interpretivist will start showing up. The interpretivist guy will be mild, trying to make it look like, oh, we have this, but there will be alternatives. We have that, but the positivist guy will go like, this guy did that. He did not consider A, B, C, hence that. Interpretivist, this guy did that. He did not consider A, B, C, but he will not draw conclusion and make it look as if his finding is wrong. He will only tell him that there are other things that needs to be considered when you are doing this, and that is what he is also looking at. I hope you are getting it out. So this is where the writing will start coming in. How everybody will be presenting a story. And I say that you will use a systematic review. A systematic review is a form of literature review, right? But then in this case, you have a very specific rule that guides you into how to select the papers, how to do this, and it is publishable. So the good news is that if you perform a systematic review, you can easily dump your systematic review on your literature review section, and you are free, and it is published. You are gone. So that is the advantage of using a systematic review. It's a whole topic that I don't think.
But look,
yes,
sometimes you find a paper. It's not like the person is making an argument, but it's like he's telling you all that is in the field has been brought to paper.
Yes. So that is review. That is what a reviews are supposed to do. But what I'm saying is that Don't just bring all that people are saying into one paper. That is not needed. If I want, I will go and look for those papers and read. If you bring all of them onto one paper, and so what? Make a point. Maybe I'm trying to let everybody know that people are really confused in this world. Everybody is talking about this. Everybody. Last time we were having this discussion, it was very interesting. In one squad shooting, and one guy drew our attention to something. Now look, you have worked on credibility. You publish a lot of papers on credibility, right? Yes. And we are still making a case on credibility, yes. And one of the arguments we keep making is that credibility, people are having different perspective on what a credible system is. We are looking at systems. What a credible system is. Then the man asked, have we had time to look at whether they were all measuring the same thing as credibility, or they were measuring different things? So you see, this is a similar situation. It is research. So a researcher will say that I am reviewing all the best that people are talking about credibility, and I want to find out whether when they say credibility, they all refer to the same thing. Because sometimes the person will be talking about saying credibility, but he's actually not measuring credibility. So then it becomes interesting. But if I just report all the things and leave it there, I've not made a claim. I'm only reporting what people are saying. In that case, then people can equally go and read all those papers. But if I finish and I make a contribution, you see, in research, all that we are interested in is contribution. There is no magnitude of contribution. Again, don't let anybody deceive you. Contribution is contribution. Once it is relevant, it is contribution. I will just make a very small contribution in that field and let people know that look, all the things that people are saying. So I'm bringing all the papers and saying, look at all the definitions. It doesn't make sense. Nobody is making sense because everybody is having his own definition. I have made a contribution. I've told everybody that the research in the area is not converging. Everybody is talking. So those things are there that we have to. Now the flow of your paragraphs in your literature review should always come out with a sentence topic. Right. Most often your first sentence should bring out the idea. It should be a pulling sentence, a pitching sentence, where the reader picks and then it feels like, okay. Some people start with a very strong sentence, a very strong claim. It's not every time that you will do that, but these things help. You make a strong claim and then you now lighten it. Try to justify why you made those claims. If I tell you watching television is bad, immediately you will start reading what I'm trying to say. I hope you are getting me.
Yeah.
But again, we say that it is very good to lighten your statements. But sometimes if you are not careful and you make those strong statements, some of the reviewers get angry at you. Watching television is bad. What do you mean by watching television is bad? That's all. You won't be getting. But if you say some studies have confirmed that watching television is not a good activity, then I will cite the person. That one, people will be ready to follow your story. Then you have your supporting sentences. Yes, please.
And including that your audience becomes how you write.
Yes, audience will come to, but audience is key. But you see, when you are the audience thing is key, but one thing you should also know is that at some point, I keep saying that the audience doesn't matter. Okay, so let me explain these two concepts when we talk about audience. When you write a paper and then you send it to your supervisor, it is different. When you write and you are sending it to a journal, it is different. You should know the journal that you are sending the paper to, and then you write. Some researchers will tell you that conduct the research and then look for a journal and submit it there. That is one. But I always tell people that when you finish conducting the research, before you start writing, go and look for the journal that you want to write. Read their objectives and everything before you come and write it. Because sometimes the audience are different. Let me give you a typical example. So you write a paper on anomaly detection, right? You want to write a paper on anomaly detection in networks, so computer networks. So pardon me to use computer networks, right? So you want to understand what are the anomalies in computer networks. And then you are using machine learning algorithms. If you send this paper to a pure machine learning journal, I'm telling you, you reject it. The reason why they reject it is that, did you come out with a new machine learning algorithm? No. If not, why are they interested? If you send it to anomaly detection in security, information security people, right, they may be interested. Because there are a lot of anomaly detections, but you are introducing an idea of using machine learning, which to them is new. That is why they want to hear. So when we talk about audience, that is where we are focusing on audience. But when you pick the group and you are writing for them, then the level matters. You have to understand that you are not talking to some people who don't know anything. So you have to pitch your language. When you get to the vocabulary, we talk about that. But again, pitching your language, putting your language at a certain level, you should be careful. That is why sometimes when you read certain people, you don't understand, because you have not become an expert in that area. So the language they are using is not your language. So I always advise my students when they are starting that go and look for those bogus journals, right? The bogus journals. Look for the Wikipedia, those low-level things, and read those ones for the first 1 month. Those guys don't write anything sensible, but they explain the concept to you because they don't have anything to say. So they will have time to explain an idea. Once you get the idea, now move to the proper journals and read those ones. You will get everything clear. Because when you pick the top journals there, the matters of interest to you is not what is of interest to them. Their discussion level is so high. So when we talk about audience, that is what we call audience in this case. Yes, so let's go on. So the next thing you have to do is you should always conclude every paragraph. The paragraph should start, build, and then conclude. Let the conclusion of the first paragraph be reflected in the second paragraph. There should be a connection. Sometimes you read papers and there are no connections. The person is just defining things. So the person is, what is attitude? Talk, finish. What is behavior? Talk, finish. That is not helpful. That type of reading is you are reporting. Talk about attitude. As you are finishing the definition of attitude, create a relationship between attitude and behavior. So the reader now wants to understand behavior because you have mentioned behavior in that one. So when you move to the next paragraph and you are talking about behavior, reader knows what you are talking about. Don't introduce any new idea if you have not talked about it previously. Don't let it just come like that. So some will have an introductory section within the review, and they will list what they are talking about. So they will say that in this study, we want to understand the relationship between projector's presentation and the presenter. 3 things: projectors, presentation, and presenter. We will start by discussing the projector. So they will talk about projector. Then they will link how the projector informs how the presentation is done before they will conclude with what the presenter will do. Somebody may start and talk about the presenter and then follow how the presenter will do his presentation and how he uses his projector. So in any case, there should be some connection. Don't just put presentation, talk about presentation, finish. Projector, assuming that the person should know the connection. It doesn't help. It wouldn't even make the reading flow. So when you are reading, the most difficult thing is when you are reading an academic paper and it is not flowing. Again, the reason why sometimes when you read these academic papers and you don't get it, it's not your fault. It's because the writer is not good. So you have to force yourself to understand the thing, and it is not happening. You have to use linking words, and also as well as firstly, next, then finally, so that you should show that at this level you cannot write without these words. At this level, yes.
So sometimes maybe your supervisor gives you a paper.
Yeah.
Read it. Use it to your work or something. And you don't understand the paper. So what do you do about that?
Keep reading till you understand. You see, if you have been given a paper to read and understand, and you read that paper and you don't understand, read additional papers to understand. Let me use Mark as an example. I gave Mark some papers to read. 2 papers. I just said, read this first and read the other one next. The next thing is that he started sending me papers that I have not even seen. But I did not ask him to go and read those papers. I don't know whether you are getting the argument.
Yeah.
So the argument is that supervisor will give you one paper. He actually does not mean. That's why I said when we say you have read 50 papers, it means you have read about 200. So supervisor gives you one paper.
Sometimes maybe your supervisor will give some specific time frame.
Yes.
To report back.
Yes.
And that paper
That is why we don't sleep. That is the life that you have decided to live. You should understand it. It's simple. I mean, you should just understand. After that, I keep telling every researcher, you should understand it. You don't sleep. Today, I have to get up at 2 a.m. because I have a presentation to do. That is our life. Welcome to the That is how it is. So when a researcher is telling you, I don't have time, you don't understand. The point is that sometimes you even wish that the day is actually extended to 36 hours. Because you wake up, by the time you blink, the day is ending. Because you have about 6 papers to read, write a report, do this, and it's too much. But that is how it is. And you know what is more fun? When you start, it looks as if it is difficult. So you think that it will get to a point and it will be easier. Let me tell you the truth. It will never be easier. Because as you go up, your writing improves. There are certain errors you would never want to make. So your writing will change. It is, if you see the professors, my next door, the man is a professor, he was a young. Sometimes I tell him, Prof, sleep, and sleep, you will die. And I tell him, if I get to your stage, I will never read the paper again. And he laughs. But the honest fact is that I know when I get to stage, at my stage, I will be reading just like him. That is the rule. So if you like, you are doing MSc, and then you are complaining. Don't you talk to those doing MPhil and see. Those who MPhil will be complaining. Let them talk to those doing PhD. And that is how it is. You would think you are not the only person. So I tell every researcher that I work with, or student, I say, do not complain to anybody. Nobody cares about what you are saying. Because we are all doing the same thing. So if you come to me and tell me, look, I have not slept for 3 days. And I say, okay. The only thing I will tell you is that try and make sure that you are sleeping. That's all. That is, I can't tell you anything more than that. But we all do the same. So that is it. So don't, and as much as possible, don't let the time limit your capabilities. Don't let the time. Give yourself strict rules. If you are doing research, nobody tells you what to do. You should know what to do. You are a mature learner. So you should be able to know that I am going to finish writing my literature review in 3 days' time and finish in 3 days' time. Don't bring in excuses. There are always excuses. There are always excuses. Do not bring in the excuses. Because that is how you should. The moment you delay your writing by 1 day, your PhD, your MPhil, your MSc are delayed by 1 day. That's how it works. So that is why some people finish and they don't understand why it took them 10 years to finish the PhD or 10 years. It's because we are delaying it daily. As we delay it in a day, something goes back. Our friends who have finished their PhD and all that day for the past 3 years, they are just sitting and waiting to get one single publication because they need 4 publications before they will allow them to graduate. Now they are finished. They have written the 4 papers. It is out there under review. No feedback. You can't go and force the reviewer to bring it. So day one, as we start publishing, if the paper is going to take 2 years, we have sent papers to review that has took us 3 years before the paper was published. At the point I got angry. That I'm taking the paper. The colleague said, you just allow the paper to go. No, we cannot waste our time like that. After all, what journal is this one? You can take it somewhere else and get it published. So if you're a PhD student and you are waiting for this paper, 3 years, the paper is still going up and down. So you should not take if you are not careful, you think that you are waiting till last minute. It's dangerous. Day one, you start doing your publication. That's why I say, pick the work in pieces. Each section, each work you have your literature review, you have this. That is one aspect. Another one, literature review will come. So if you follow this approach, you finish your work without any problem. So like I'm saying, please do not forget this words. Yes, please.
One thing I realize is that sometimes when you
I don't think they can hear you. Yes.
or published for
Yes.
you to know that they are working on it.
Yes.
So when you delay the time that maybe you are done, someone has already published the same.
That is very true.
So
In
it
fact,
means that you have to change whatever you want.
yes, that is also the danger in research. In all fields, you have to work with time. If you slow down, by the time you finish, that paper is published. In fact, it's just happened to us in the previous paper, isn't it? We finished the paper, everything, we saw a very similar paper. The only thing that saved us is we were looking at a particular type of set of sentiments, and our approach to the sentiment analysis was a little bit different from that person's approach. Our fundamental theory was a bit different from that person's fundamental theory. Else would have been the same work and we cannot publish it. To the point that even one of the reviewers even pointed it out to us that this work, he doesn't think that there is something special. Because he has just seen somebody doing it. So you don't also have time. You don't have time. You have to work very once the idea comes, deliver. And this is not part of this work. But let me say it. Never, if you're a beginner researcher, never discuss your ideas. And I mean it with top researchers. Never. It is very difficult, but don't do that. If you want to discuss the ideas, do it in public, where it's a presentation, right? And then you are presenting it. That one, at least you have a lot of people who are witness. But if you go to a professor, and then you go and tell the professor, so I'm thinking about this, okay, we give you ideas. By the time you can, if the idea is very good, you have started working on it. By the time you take that paper is published, you can't go and do anything to him. It is gone. And even when you go and tell people that you brought it, right, people will laugh at you. So don't. It is not. If it is your supervisor, yes, every idea that you have in your head, discuss with your supervisor. But don't go and discuss your brilliant ideas with people outside your field. That's why I keep saying that before you start discussing with somebody, talk to your supervisor. If your supervisor thinks that this guy is someone that you can share ideas with, fine. But if the person is a top professor, those people who are producing papers like, you can go and check some people's paper almost every 2 weeks, a paper is coming out. And you go and discuss this nice idea with this guy, 2 weeks later, it will be like the Mark Zuckerberg story.
Sometimes
Yes, that's what you can do. You have to change your topic. There's nothing you can do.
sometimes you see, let's say there's this top researcher in your
Can you
field.
speak louder?
Like sometimes there's this top researcher in your field. You have been wanting to meet this person and get
Ideas from the
Yes.
person.
And maybe you chance on him at a conference.
Yes.
You know, sometimes
Don't go and discuss your ideas. It has happened to me before. You see, the issue is that you've met him. These professors you can talk about your research in a very general perspective, but not the key things in your thinking. You may be thinking that you are presenting it to him so that you get flaws. I'm not saying that in all cases that is what happened to you. But there are some top scholars that by the time you finish, the work is gone. Because one, they have students. You see, in our part of the world, that's one thing we also don't have. We don't have a lot of PhD students. We have researchers who is having about 20 PhD students. Some don't have topic. And then you go and you show this idea. The next thing is, yes, I met this gentleman outside at this place. He was talking about this thing. Can you start thinking about it? And the next thing is that the person will start ideas. Paper is gone. There's nothing you can do. So there are proper forums or fora where they do this thing. It's called a PhD consortium. So all of you, you don't need to be a PhD guy to send your paper there. When you have an idea, all the conferences, the top conferences, there is a PhD consortium. You write to the PhD consortium about a page or two on your ideas. They will accept it, and then you go and do a presentation. All those professors that you wanted them to make contributions will be sitting there. They will make contributions to your work. If they are interested, they will tell you after the presentation that I am interested in working with you on this. You will follow up. It is difficult for them to pick ideas there because everybody in that room knows that you are the person who presented this. And that is the reason why they do the PhD consulting. So that young researchers can pitch their ideas to get knowledge from the advanced researchers. But don't go one-on-one thinking that you will be duped. It's just like what Shatawale has been doing to the voice. You come to the studio to record music and you talk plenty. When they go, you pick the song and you play it. Go and tell everybody that this song Shatawale stole it from me. Nobody will listen to you. You will not even have evidence. So that is how these things work. So let's go on. I think our time is already up. I'm not even halfway through. So the issue is that the introduction should give details, right? Here, this is where you talk about the key theories, key concepts, everything in your area that is key. The key theory should be here. I've seen a presentation where a student was asked, a PhD student, almost finally was asked about the theory in his work. And then he said, well, I will look into that. That is embarrassing. It should never happen. It means that you are nowhere near your work. You should have all the key theories. You should understand all the contrasting issues in your field. You should have all those things. And that is what we talk about. You take a position and then you make a suggestion. So now you are drawing yourself to a position. So let your discussion be focused. Do not discuss anything that you would not want the reader to know you are going to work on. If you want to work on ants and you are working on red ants but not black, don't start talking about black ants. Keep your discussion. Talk about ants in general. There are all these types of ants. Right? Let people know that you know. When you are interested in red, focus your reading on red. Talk about red till you die. Simple. Not at the point, but then if this ant looks similar to black, the person will start asking you questions on your black ants that you are talking about. So let your work be. If you think that there is a need for you to mention something that it is really, really necessary to mention, but you are not going to work on that, mention specifically that this is out of scope. So even though we discuss black ant, for this study or for the purpose of this research, it is out of scope. Nobody can ask you why. In any case, nobody forced you. You decided to do your research. Now let me skip. When you get the slide, you can read the sample so that we can go through. There are some key things that I really want us to. This is to explain the methods that we are going to do. There is one main reason. We have different types of knowing, right? Knowing through tenacity, intuition, authority, rational, empirical. That's what I was saying. Men are more empirical and rational. Women are more intuitive. But none of this is accepted. We only accept scientific. And the reason why we accept scientific is because we can validate and verify what you have done. So if you write and you don't have methodology in your work, there is a problem. Sometimes the methodology section will not come with the title methodology. The only problem is that those in social sciences, for them, they cannot escape methodology. But those in computer science and engineering, you find them running away from methodology. You can read the whole computer science work and the person will not explain how he did the work. In actual sense, that is not acceptable. You should explain how you did the work, that when the work can be audited. When I pick the work, I can do A, B, C, D, and get the result. There are some journals that even when you run machine learning algorithms, right, and you send it to them, in fact, it has happened to us before, send it to them, they will tell you, bring your codes and your data, so that they will run it and verify that the results you are claiming you got is what they got. So you have to explain that we did this first, followed by this, followed by that. It should be in the work. The methodology should be there. There should always be a methodology section. And it should always have what? 10%. It does not mean that it should be called methodology. Sometimes you say, some people say experimental setup. How you set up the experiments. It should be there. You should explain. Please don't also confuse methodology with formula. I've seen papers where some people write methodology and then they say neural network methodology. Neural network is not a methodology. Somebody will say methodology and then there's this one, a methodology, the person will possibly. It's positivist methodology. It's not a method, it's a philosophy. It will only guide how you choose your method. Let me go. So that one to have examples on how to write it. Then your findings and results. Findings, again, in computer science and engineering, it is not everywhere that you have findings and results. In some work, you have findings and results. In some, you do not have. When you go to the social sciences, you should always have findings and results. It should always consist between 20 to 25%. This is what you are reporting, that this is your work. You see, all the first 3 sections, it's not your work. You are only telling us what has been done and how you did yours. Now, this is what you have done. If you don't explain this thing well, you are doomed. How do you explain? Make sure that you are talking, giving details about the thing that you are doing. Giving details about the thing, exact details about the thing. Don't combine certain things. Make sure you are using your tables and figures to explain the concept very well. If you write poorly here, you are doomed. It will look as if you did not do anything. You might have done a lot of work, but because of the way you report it, it will create issues. Then we have discussions. So some people will also argue that there should be slow. You can never write a full research paper without a discussion section. It will come again in different titles or different names, but it should be discussed. Some people will call it interpretation of results. Some people will call it implications. Right? Limitations is part of discussions. Some will call it recommendations, but at this level, you don't really have to focus on recommendation. You are not a consultant, so whether you write recommendation or not, you find some reviewers telling you write recommendation. Until they tell you write recommendation, don't force yourself and write recommendation. It is first degree people who have to write recommendation. But you are not supposed to make recommendation. You are supposed to rather talk about limitations, implications, and interpretations. What the findings that you got, what does it mean? What does it mean? So implications, we have practical and theoretical implications. And you have to explain in terms of theory, the new idea, what you have done in terms of theory, what does it mean? Then in terms of practice, what are the new things? Perhaps that is what sometimes people want to put it like recommendation. Now that we know that there is a relationship between education and level of intelligence, what does it mean? It means that now we should be educating our people more so that they will be intelligent. You get it? Now that we have been able to construct a new projector that projects wirelessly, what does it mean? It means that now we can put projectors at a certain distance without obstructions. I hope you are getting it. In the same way, at your discussion chapter, bring contrasting issues. This is what I saw. Kofi Mensah said that there is no way that we can do a projector without a cable. We are proving that we can do a projector without a cable. So your discussion section actually is similar to your introduction. But this time, you are bringing research that people have done, and then you are using your findings to either support it or challenge it. In the literature review, your position was just speculative. This is what Kofi is saying. This is what Kwame is saying. When I put it together, I think Kofi is right. So when I finish and I'm writing my discussion, I now prove that Kofi is right. You get it? Now this is the secret. One, you start writing from the bottom. From discussion, write conclusion. So now let's start doing it because we don't have my time. Start writing from the bottom. Conduct the whole thing. These are the secrets. Conduct the whole thing. In everything that you are doing, conduct the whole thing. Report your results. So I'll start writing my results first. When I write my results, I'll come to my discussions. Then I'll come and write my literature review. Because I am getting some indications. My results is what I'm going to do for literature to write. To suit my results. I hope you are getting this straight. This is the one that nobody writes on paper. But that is how people do it, and they go very, very fast. So I write my findings first, because that when I finish conducting the statement. Right. When I finish conducting the statement, I already have some literature. It's not like I'm now reading, but I have not put them in order. So when I write my findings, I write my discussions, build up the points, now take my discussions, come and write my literature review and methodology. I've finished. Write conclusion, write introduction, write abstracts. So it does not follow like that. Even the Bible, you see it like that. They did not write the Bible like that. Some pages were written before, so you see the book of Revelation last, but that wasn't the last book they wrote. So it is not wrong. I hope you are getting the trick. So these are some of the ways that you can use to go around. Yes, please, go on. That is why you are writing your results first. So what do? You did not get the trick. I said write your results, write your discussions, come and write your literature review. So when I write my results and then I discuss, I pick the issue that I saw, come and now pen it to my literature review. So I'm reviewing the literature to see this one. When I finish, I pick those issues and I come and make it my objectives in the introduction. So there is no way you read that there will be a contradiction. If you decide to write, by the time you get down, you see that some of the findings did not. And you see, it's not wrong. Penicillin was discovered through accident, isn't it? Do you think when the researcher finishes and is writing the paper, you start talking about all the things that you're doing? No. You write the paper to look like he was actually researching to get penicillin. Most research that you see that are innovative came about as an accident. Most research. Yes, please.
So where does future work fall?
Future work, good. Future work falls under discussions. But then this is another mistake. I think I have it in this slide, this data part. Future work is something that a lot of people miss. In future work, don't talk about things that has nothing to do with your work. You investigated the relationship between HIV and teenage pregnancy. Your research is about HIV and teenage pregnancy. You saw that people who are highly there's a relationship between HIV and teenage pregnancy. That is, when people get HIV, teenagers who get HIV are likely to get pregnant. That is your findings. Future work, don't come and say, hence, let's investigate how HIV affects malaria. Don't talk about malaria. No, you can only talk about how HIV, what is causing that. I hope you are getting it. Why is that relationship present? It's future work. We need to understand. If this relationship continues forever, what will be future implications? Future work. Maybe I did my study only in Ghana. Can we get the same results when we go to Nigeria? Future work. So your future work should relate to what you have done. You see a lot of people write, and the future work has nothing to do with their work. It is the same conclusion where you write about your limitations. The limitations are also very important. In limitations, say everything that you were supposed to do or you think you should have done and you were not able to do. Don't let anybody find the errors. You see, research, this is the interesting part. I'm a child, right? I've done something wrong, I can't go. As soon as I come home, I tell you, Dad, I forgot to take this and put it there. You cannot accuse me of that. The only thing is, next time, don't do that. Case closed. But if you don't come and report, and then I pick it, that is why I make a case out of it. That is what researchers do. So as you are conducting the research, there are certain things that you realize that look, I was supposed to actually use a particular algorithm to do something, or I was supposed to collect data from a particular place, I did not. Or my data, those are limitations. Come and tell all of us that limitations of study. It can be observed that data was collected from only 3 schools. However, it would have been appropriate for us to collect data from 15 schools. Right. Future work. That gives you future work. Somebody should collect data from 15 schools and do that. I should have used a neural net to analyze this, but due to time and limitation, I use that because I don't have the facilities. Future work. You get so you punch all the holes in your work and tell the reader that these are the issues with my work. That is the beauty of research. Research goes like this. You go and look for a problem, you solve it, and then you tell us the problem with your solution. So there is always a problem to solve.
So, Doc, is future works compulsory?
Yes. Future work is compulsory. If you don't write limitation and future work in a paper, in the proper journal, you throw it out. You need to tell us. You need to tell us the limitations of the work you've done. You see, it is very like you have said, you should pray that the reviewer doesn't pick your limitations, else you are dead. They will crush you with your limitations and you feel very useless. You will let you feel like all the things that you have done is completely not necessary. So that is why you have to do that. Right? Yes, please.
Yes, I realize
yes, I have to finish at about 5 minutes. And I have 20 slides.
I realize lately that some papers have a threat to validity.
Yes.
What does that
threat to validity depends. It's not every work that you need threat to validity. So if you are doing quantitatives, threat to validity, for those doing quantitative, it can come either in structural modeling, it can come in machine learning, anything that is quantitative with figures, right? The threat to validity are, you see, your research needs to be valid. The measuring instrument that you use to measure is your questionnaire or your data collection method, right? We have to demonstrate that that instrument is valid. So what are some of the threats to that type of validity? They can come in different forms depending on what you take. If it is machine learning, it can actually be a particular type of defect in an algorithm. If it is a structural modeling, it might be your questionnaire that you constructed. There may be some issues with it that you bring it out for people to. When you are doing systematic reviews, it's also there. Threat to validity is there. So threat to validity is, I'm not taking methodology, so I'm not able to talk. That will take a lot of our time. Yes. So let me now explain some of the key things that. So we now have the theory, right? I want us to come to the practice. I was thinking I won't spend much time. So the first thing is that vocabulary. Don't add flavors, right? You are doing fried rice, but try as much as possible not to put ketchup. Just eat it like that. Don't add Maggi. That will never come. Eat it like that. Finish. That is academic writing. This is what I mean by don't add flavors. Don't be having ambiguous statements. Right? Say exactly what you want to say. If the thing can be explained in a different form, then there is a problem with it. If what you are saying, if it can be explained in a different form, then there is a problem with it. It should have only one meaning. Every sentence. That's why I'm saying that when you are writing, you have to go through. Every sentence should have only one meaning. The trouble we have is that our part of the world, the type of language that we use, doesn't allow us to write like that because we don't speak like that. We don't speak factually. I don't know whether you observe this. We don't speak factually. Our language is because it's not that our language is bad, but it is because we are not taking the trouble to learn our language, right? So you find people telling you, "Can't make it a sorry for those who don't understand. Everybody understands you. Anybody here who doesn't understand you? So I'm free to use you. Okay, so you don't understand you. Which language? I can't speak Japan. Which language do you speak?
Oh, Doc, you really believe you for?
But you see, I'm a researcher. I take what you tell me. So, can't make it down, right? What is the problem with that statement?
How can you carry a car?
Thank you. It's not a car that is carrying you. A car no kitan. But we keep, and it is all languages. I can speak Ghana, and we do the same thing in Ghana. I don't know it, but I know that that is how we speak. Yes. So when we are writing, these things come. We write as if. So the person writes a statement from the back. That is the passive thing that you are saying.
Yes, it's true. I now see it.
That is the type of passive thing that they are saying. The statement comes from the back. Instead of saying the thing active, as we are going.
And the going was done by us. The going was done by us.
That is the problem. So now let's have a small taxi that will bring the concept out there. Look at the first sentence. This is a proverb in Akan. Right. Your name man will be a man's back. Right. Good. Now, these three statements, which one truly reflects? Are they the same? The one who brought the mangoes brought the flies. When you bring in mangoes, you also bring in flies. The flies came because of the mangoes. The second one. The second one. When you bring in mangoes, you also bring in flies. The flies came because of the mangoes. The one who brought. So you see, this is the interesting thing. If you look at the sentence, what does the proverb mean? You see, this is the when you are writing. This is the trick. Get the semantic and the pragmatic of what you are talking about. You should get the actual meaning, what you really want to say before you write. And being honest with you, it is still the first one that is right. Yes. You see, the problem is saying, what they are trying to say is that the person who brings good things, mango is of good taste, isn't it? The person who brings good things also brings bad things. I hope you are getting it. If you take the first one, it doesn't sound very, very proper. But if you take it out, the others doesn't really mean that the person who brings a good thing brings. Don't you see that?
It's true.
When you bring in mangoes, you also bring in flies. It doesn't really give you that feel of somebody bringing something good, bringing. So when we are writing, this is what we have to say. That is the trick. That is the trick. I want to show one example. I want to show one example, practical example here, and then I think I will still end the class because I don't want to play with my time, so that people. Please, those online, are you seeing my screen? Those online. So what are you seeing on the screen now? Do you see a Word document? Okay. So let me change that so that you see this one. So you see this one now, the test.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this, I have permission to use this. So I asked the student whether he can give me the permission to use this sentence. So I have permission to use this. Let's read this one. Oh, this is bad.
Well, let's make it. You increase the font. Yes.
So let's read this one. So we have. There are several countries where doctor-patient communication thrives on phone numbers, countries where email addresses following a growing number of requests. Some benefits have been associated with the introduction of phone and emails as an innovative method for patient-doctor communication. Shorter times resulted from telephone conversations as compared to face-to-face patient-doctor communication. The possibility of effective time management in response to chronic illness. You see, but then compare it to this. Diverse approaches have been adopted in recent times to facilitate doctor-patient communication. In some countries, phone calls and emails are used. This has resulted in several benefits. Shorter communication times have been achieved on telephone interactions when compared with face-to-face provided reference. Yet the challenge is to ascertain the correlation between shorter interactions, quality and relevance of information obtained. Same thing. It has been made shorter, more crisp, and more formal. Yet it's the same thing. Nothing is different. So when we are writing, these are the sort of things we should look for. How do we get here is the question. It comes with years of practice. The first rule is that write in your raw English first. Else you will miss a lot of time. Yes, please. I'm listening.
Please, it seems some of us are not seeing anything on the screen.
Oh, sorry.
We are not seeing anything on the screen. Okay, I'm not seeing anything.
Please, the rest are you seeing? No.
I can see anything.
Okay, I think yes, it takes time. That is the problem with Teams. So let me do it again. Sometimes Teams.
Depending on the. the participant's internet. It will load faster or less.
Yes.
You can pick the document was the second one down there. When you go into the share, that will give them that file directly. Go to the share. Yeah, down there. Yes, this one will make it easier. Yeah.
So you see it now?
It will be loading. Take a little while.
It takes a little bit of time. Oh, yeah. The internet connectivity.
It's the internet,
oh,
yeah.
Sorry. But then what I am trying to say is we should try and make our statement shorter and then speak to the matter without putting other words. Avoid words like when, very. Putting those qualities very largely. No. You cannot tell how large the thing is. Don't add things like very small. Sometimes I've read people who have said gradually. So you see, those things are what we should try as much as possible to avoid. The moment we can avoid those ones, our writing will start. And I was saying that some of the tricks that you use is write the paper in your own language. Don't worry about. You see, when you work with these Chinese guys, I like them a lot. The reason is this: even though their language is bad, like they cannot speak English as fluent as we do, when you ask them to write articles, they write better than us. This is what they do. They write first in their language, and then they use translator to translate. Then they find people who can now put it into proper grammar for them. Reason is that if you are not able to bring out the key things that you really want to say, then the problem will start. Sometimes you may end up missing some of the key words. So you don't use words like that. It's a shame I have to rush through at this stage. So another thing, it will be argued that the benefit of sales promote outweigh the disadvantage. I will argue in this essay that proper to use the first approach. And this is the one that I was talking about. You also try it. So the writer looks at the issue with, as compared to the writer examines the issue. So if you first write in the writer looks at the issue with. Please, are you seeing my screen now? Please, those online, are you seeing my screen now? Yes. Oh, okay. Then, still.
Is that person's internet? Her internet.
I think the internet. But this time, German internet is better than German internet. You can see it. Thank you. We are hoping that for the first time we do something better than that. So if you have these two statements, what I'm trying to say is that write in your normal language in the first one. Forget about grammar, forget about spelling, forget about everything. Just tell the story. When you finish, have time to improve it by making it short. Don't worry that you are not meeting the words. I always say that it is only in our part of the world where they say minimum of. It is only in our part of the world that they will say word limits, the minimum of. Few cases, but even when it comes to your thesis and things, read the document very well. It does not say minimum. Word limits. The thing is word limits. So you are limited to 20,000 words. So even if you write 5,000 words, it is fine. But sometimes people get confused and they want to write and meet. Now, we give assignments. I give assignments and I'll tell students that you have to write a minimum of 2,000 words. The reason is this. You realize that when you tell students this is the maximum, rather, you go and write just 3 lines and come and teach you. Because the person is not ready to learn. So you force the person to write more. And it's that process that makes students write a lot of nonsense. It's just fill the space. But I always say that it is better to write very short and crisp and it's very informative than to write a lot. Whenever a reviewer is reading your paper, whether exams or whatever situation, and he's reading a lot but he's not getting anything, he's getting annoyed. If he reads short and he's not getting anything, he's even better. Okay, you did not waste my time. But if I read a lot and you waste my time to read and it's still rubbish, I'll also give you a very, very rubbish score. So that is what happens. So you try as much as possible to do that. You make claims, right, rather than being definite. The claims should be tentative rather than being definite. You don't let your find it. It has been concluded that in all no, it can be observed. We can deduce. Sometimes you use may to soften it because others have seen it and they might have gotten different perspectives than what you are saying. So the reason why we do that is this: if you make a very strong claim, if you say may, you are fine. Because if I say may, it doesn't mean, if I say Isaac will go to school, if I don't go to school, you are wrong. Isaac may go to school. If I don't go to school, I am not wrong. And it is easier to disprove than to prove. If you do a study and you conclude and you say something like this: television viewing causes reading problems in childhood. If I'm able to prove to you that I have a child who has watched television but is reading, no problem. That research we've done for years doesn't hold. But if I say excessive television viewing, the first question is what is excessive? You can't prove. May be a contributing cause of some cases of reading problems. You see, the sentence is still formed, but it's very flexible. I can run away from it. That is how the sentences should come. When you are making your claims, when you are drawing your conclusions, that is how your conclusions should come. Then your writing should be very, very logical. But then you should have this transition, emphasis, and all those words. These are some of the words that I was saying. It's not exhaustive. There are some that I did not put there. But these are the words that I said when I started writing, I will write, and then I will find where I will put these words in it. I'm telling you, any essay, this is what you want to do. Any essay, to those of us who are teaching in schools and stuff like that, just teach the kids to use this words. Everybody who reads the thing will say, the guys are fast. The reason is that you are using new words that people don't hear. When was the last time you used a word like however? We will always use but, isn't it? So when a student is writing however, everybody sees that student as an advanced person. Nonetheless, nevertheless, those are the words that changes the writing.
Yes. So for all I was reading the video, so the person made mention of the atmosphere.
Okay.
If you are writing, there are words that create sense.
Exactly.
For example, if you want to show a challenge or a problem,
yes,
then you can use words like although, however, inconsistent, but create an atmosphere as a challenge.
Yes.
If you want to depict a value, then say it is widely or accepted or it's common. Good, then that's great.
Can you share that document with all of us?
Okay, it's a YouTube video.
Oh, it's a YouTube video. Okay, yes. I mean, that is the fact. So these words, the moment you bring them into your writing, it changes the writing. No matter how bad the grammar and everything is, you will see that the writing change all of a sudden. Because it brings new flavor to it. And you see, the words should mean exactly what you want to say. So admitting, I want to show you that I am admitting to a particular fact. And there's this, you get it. That is, I mean, there's a difference between the word importance and necessary. Very big difference. But people use it anyhow. This is what the academic writing guy should not, the academic should not be doing. If it is important, use important. If it is necessary, use necessary. It is not everything that is important that will end up being necessary. I hope you are getting it. So these are the words. We have to use the words as they mean. It may be novel. It may be new, but not novel. So the fact that something is new does not mean that it's novel. New, novel, original, all those words. What I started doing is simple. Every time I want to make an emphasis, I go and look for the exact meaning of that word in the dictionary before I use it. And it will change your writing. It will change your writing drastically. You get the exact meaning, and you see that there are times that you say something and then people can get exactly what you want to do. Rather than people use words like still in situations where they are not supposed to use it. Sometimes, instead of using manner, the person will use way. In a way that it will work. Or maybe it is in the manner that it will work. So these are the words. That's what I'm saying. It is a skill. No one can sit you down and teach you all these things. But the more you use them, so at the start I will write, that was what I was doing. I'll write, moreover, in fact, additionally, for example, in point of, then as I write, there are a lot of this online. As I write, I'll be looking at where to fix these words in to make the writing very counterpoints. Honestly, I hardly write but. And there's a reason why. I feel like but is so common. So I will hardly write that. I'd rather use yet, however, and things like that to change the way you are reading the sentences so that things will change for you. Citation and referencing. Always use a citation software. It's Mendeley, EndNote, RefMan, RefWorks, a lot there. But then when you finish, make sure you go through. This is the thing. People don't go through. They just put it there and then make sure you go through to confirm that what you have put there is exactly what should be there. Also, stick to one referencing style. Some people will use APA and IEEE. Please at least learn one style and understand it. If you are using APA like referencing style, learn APA. In most universities, APA is standard. So if you are not using APA, it's IEEE. So at least know APA and IEEE.
Look, sometimes the general
will tell you that choose this. So that is why when you are using the referencing software, you are fine. As soon as they tell you your work is in APA, if they tell you convert to IEEE, click, it changes everything to IEEE. But when you finish, read through, because in IEEE, the inter-citation is different from APA inter-citation. So you still have to look for it physically. It has reduced the work, but they have not finished it for you. It has done about 95% of the work. Years ago, people were doing it manually. So before you complain, think about those years. What you have to do now. Now, these are the type of things that I have seen a lot in my work. That's when I'm reviewing. Not only students, even academics who write outside the center. If you make this type of errors, immediately people see that you are a novice writer. PhD writing, if you make these errors, you are dead. It's likely a reviewer will just throw your work sample. So the first thing is that, look at this. If you are using APA, the proper thing will be what? Pele etal, then the comma, the bracket should start in front before you continue. In their paper, this is rubbish. Why do you tell me in, sorry for my language, that is the academic word for it, it's rubbish, it's rubbish. That's when you tell people that it's rubbish, people are angry. But that is the word that we use. The thing is, you don't understand. When you say it's excellent, no, yeah. When you say it's rubbish, why are you telling me it's rubbish? You don't hear the other one. So, the reason why we say it's rubbish is that you cannot write in their paper. Where else? Will it be in their music? Will it be in their music? That is why you cannot say, we will tell you that what you have written is rubbish. In a study conducted, fine. Because it may be that it wasn't a study that you conducted. But as much as possible, you can even avoid a study conducted. So this is a paper. We all know it's a paper. So just mention the guy's name, and then you say, sought to study. You see, another thing. Why are you telling us? And determining patient attitude. This whole sentence is actually not adding anything to it.
You actually see that the person wants more words.
You see the impression that we create. You make the reader feel like you want to fill the space, which is wrong. So you can take this whole thing from there without having the effect. Then we have the determined patient attitude towards physician use of tablet PC. Now look at the problem. We put full stop here, we write this, and then we put another full stop there. This is wrong. This full stop should not be there. The first full stop should not be there. These are some of the things that we miss. And it tells the reader immediately that the guy doesn't know how to write. And they are serious errors. You think they are pets, but they are serious errors. It's like a child who is reading, and the child sees CA and KA, and he gets confused between CA and KA and say that why is it that if KA is can and CA is also can? Immediately you know that you have just started learning phonetics. It's the same thing. So do not cite unnecessarily. This is a lot of people do this. So why are you citing this one? What is this? Wireless networks include this. What do you mean? Are they the people who invented all these things? Or you saw in their writing that they have mentioned wireless networks include this, so you are also citing them. So in this case, you don't cite it. If you think that you want to tell us the person who brought Bluetooth, right? Then you can say wireless networks include Bluetooth, then you cite the person who brought Bluetooth. Zigbee, you cite that person. Wi-Fi, you cite that person. But if you just make this and then you cite, you are not done anything. Do not also cite journals that are bogus, the predatory journals. Please, every time you are citing, check. If you send a word to a journal and they see that you have cited predatory journal, that is the first point. Drop it. As much as possible, make sure you are not citing predatory journals. That is the biggest question. How do you know that this is a predatory journal until you have read enough? See, I'm stopping until you have read enough. Because I cannot tell you the predatory journals in your area. You have to read to know them. One rule of the thumb that you can use is check who is indexing the journals. If it is Scopus index, at least we are very sure that it is not a predatory journal. The predatory journals are those ones that the Chinese people are manufacturing. See, in China, they do imitation of everything. Even articles, they have imitation. They are able to do imitation of human beings. So they have some articles that if you want to publish today, in fact, one researcher took it as a research. Just wrote, he said he wrote what? You are mad, wrote something repeatedly about 8 pages and sent it to them, and they accepted it. Huh? Oh yes, he has the researcher has done. He's a US researcher. I'll look for that paper and send it to you. He has written about it, how these predatory journals work. They don't even read. They don't read. So don't cite them. If you are starting research, you are a beginner researcher, and you want to have concepts and you are using them, fine. But never cite this. Always try to make sure that your citations are within 5 years. You don't cite anything more than 5 years. There are situations where you have to cite things more than 5 years. It's fine. But try and show that you have a current one that has stopped. The reason is that we want you to show that your work is recent. You are reading current stuff. Right. I'm talking about biomedic and asthma. And I'm referring to, 1983, by Munich won the league. So what? You want to know what happened in 2000 or yesterday, not what is happening. So that is the same concept here.
But Doc, let's say you were working on something 3 years ago.
Yes. And
then you wrote a manuscript down.
Yes.
And then 2021, you came by really became relevant. Let's say this COVID.
Yes.
There was SARS, was it MERS-CoV?
Yes. So you can cite it. It's not wrong. We are not saying don't cite old articles.
No, it's not about that.
Okay.
Maybe you were working on MERS-CoV then, and you stopped. And now 2021, you realize that it has become relevant. But then within that manuscript you wrote down there, you have cited some people that you think are far behind. How do you go about that?
You have to change.
You have to change all of them.
I like this guy. He's behaving just like when I started researching. I was looking for the simple, cheap way to go about it. You have to change. The literature has changed. This is about 5 years old. The fact that what you were researching is relevant does not mean that you should maintain all those old.
You have the manuscript down already.
You have to work on it again. That is why I think it was Angela was saying, you have to be current. if you finish the work and you don't publish and you drop it 3-4 years later, if you want to publish that work, you have to work on it again. So there's nothing like I've done the work and I put it down, 10 years later I pick it, I can publish it. No. Sometimes the reviewer, if they see that, they will tell you that your data is old. They will reject it, counter reject your data is old. So as you move, you should always be. So I've exceeded 20 minutes, but please forgive me. Let me talk about this and then we finish. Tables, figures, and graphs. You summarize everything or your ideas into tables, figures, and graphs. Biggest mistake that people make is this. They put in tables without talking about it or figures without talking about it. Never do that. If you put in a figure, you should explain the figure. If you put in a table, you should explain the table. Never do a table and a figure for the same data. So somebody will do a graph and then do a table. It only tells us that you just want to fill up space. Don't make the table too big or too small. Sometimes you see the table that can take a quarter of a page, then you deliberately expand it to fill the whole page. Everybody sees that you are just wasting space. So if you do a graph of male and female, don't come and do a table of male and female. The next thing is that between the graph and the table, you have to know the one that will not take more space. That's the one you should use. If it is just a graph of male and female, male 35%, female 65%, you have done a bar chart for what? This one, it should not even be a table. It should be in your writing. Because it's just two figures. When the thing is so complex that we want to summarize it, then the table and the figure becomes very good. Unless you are told to do otherwise, the figure title is always done, isn't it? And then the table title is always at the top. Yes, I think those are the key things that we need to do. Yes. If you are expecting figure from somebody else, good, you should use adapted form if you change a little bit. But if you pick the same thing, you should use form. But then that is plagiarism. That's also one thing that we do. If you pick my article and you pick a picture that I have put in, and then you put it in yours, and then you cite me, yes, we didn't know, we've done all these things by plagiarism. Yes, if you redraw, that is even better. But don't draw the same thing. If you draw, make some small changes. So that is why it's normally adapted for you have to, else you have copied. You see some. Yes. No. So can I pick a section of your text and drop it in mine and say I want people to know that you know this text? You see, what we forget is that some people, their research is art. As we are talking, somebody is painting, and that is his PhD, to paint something. So if you pick a picture, don't think that you own that picture. If you go online and you get a picture from a website and you drop it, let everybody know that you took this picture from this place. Else, go around yourself and take the pictures. That one, no problem. Those are the rules.
Some pictures you can't do anything about it. For example, you are working on Buri also.
Yes.
There is a skin wound.
Yes.
You want to show you.
Yes. So tell us who took that picture. And is that what we have?
Source to credit.
You should let us know. It is not, you see, that's what I'm saying. It is not appropriate. But at least when you cite, we are fine. Let us know where you got that Buri or some picture. You cannot go with the excuse that you cannot, if you are a researcher and you are serious, you can go and take a picture of Buri or something and say that this is my work. Or is that not true? If you are really going to work on Buri or something, why can't you go and take a picture of Buri or something? But if in any case you cannot do that and you are using somebody's work, let people acknowledge that this name is coming from that person. So we are finished, but before we go, let me give you the crude method.
Let me add that we have certain site where you can take pictures.
Yes, I think it's something. What's the name? There's a site for pictures.
I think you have a list of sites you can have So depending like a poster paper.
Yeah.
You can't reference the picture that you have.
No, you have to. You reference them.
On one.
Yes, the website.
Okay.
There's a website where you pick the picture from. So you keep the website as the reference. That's where you got the picture from.
And what if it's from somebody's work?
If it's for somebody's work, reference that person.
But it will still be plagiarism.
No. You are not getting it. The best thing is that do your own. That is what is preferred. But in any case, if you still, you see, when you talk about referencing, right, you can put a whole 5 lines in quotes by APA standard, but you have to put it in quotes to show that you pick the exact words and then you reference. It is the same thing with the picture. So if you do that, if you dump the whole picture there and you reference the person, it is fine. But it is not preferred. Again, the same thing in writing. It is not preferred that you pick 5 lines and put it in quotes. If you run it through Tenity will flag that one out. If you have 5 lines, 10 lines, you read some papers. People are doing 5 lines in quote, 10 lines in quote, everything in quote. So what is coming from you? Your quotes. So now, this is a very simple rule. All these theoretical things that we talk about. Apply all these rules, but in this context. When you start writing, first build your structure. These are the thematic areas I want to talk about. Ask questions. So when I pick a particular section that I want to write, maybe this section is under food security, right? Then I'll start asking questions. I'll write, well, how do you define food security? What is the latest research in food security? Well, I'll ask all those questions. Now, I'll now go and look for literature that answers those questions. So when I'm reading and then somebody answers that question, that food security is this, I will cut that whole section. Come and dump it under food. What is food security? I will cite the person immediately so that I don't forget. I'll keep doing that till I fill all the spaces for my paper. Then I will now come and put flesh on it. So the ones that I've done cut and paste, I know they are not what my words. Then I will rewrite it, but the citation states. And then I'll put flesh around it. If you do that, it is very likely. See, because the questions that you have asked, your writing will answer those questions. And you will definitely get it through. Rule number 2. As you are writing, pick a very good paper in your area that when you read, the paper is clear, you understand, and imitate that paper. Any good invention starts from imitation. So pick a paper. You will definitely get one paper in your area. I call it the holy grail of my writing. This paper, I want my writing to look like this guy. So that becomes your guide. It is likely the title will look similar to your work. So if you are doing a systematic review, you find one systematic review that somebody has done. And then use that and create an imitation. In this systematic review, we look at the relationship between goats and calves. I am doing countries. In this systematic review, we look at the relationship between Ghana and Togo. I am not a journalist. When you go to the farm, when you go to Ghana, you pick and then you study through. At least when you start writing, that is you will see that even though you are trying to copy this person, because you have some skills too, you will write it better than that person. As you keep doing it 1, 2, 3, 4, you are fine. If you are doing MSc, pick a PhD work that somebody has done as your base paper. MPhil, pick a PhD. So that becomes trouble for PhD. What are you doing? If you are doing PhD, you cannot do PhD. The only one you will do is that you get a very good article and then you use it to expand. The reason why I tell you that if you are doing MSc, pick a PhD is that no matter how bad the PhD paper is, it is still better than the MSc paper. So you are covered at the master's level. If you are doing PhD, no matter how bad a good journal, so you get a good journal paper that has been published in a reputable place, no matter how bad it is still better than the PhD work. So you can probably look for the key guys in your area and get their paper. In some cases, you have to avoid the key guys too. For instance, in my area, some of the key guys there, they are not good in writing. I think the person who even invented the whole area is not good in writing. He's been using calculations, can't, won't, which you don't use in academic writing, to write papers. So if you go and pick that guy and use his paper, you are in trouble. But his papers are accepted just because he's a top scholar and he brought the area. So when he writes, even now he has stopped writing. So these are the tips that I think we can use to guide ourselves. It is not wholesale, and I'm saying I'm sorry, it's a shame I didn't time myself well. I think the hands-on thing took a lot of the time, so I could not balance it very well. So, do we have any questions? If not, we can end comfortably. Sorry again, I've done 30 minutes more than my time. Well, actually, I was late. I started very late.
We started at 10:20. Yes. Not too late like that. You were in.
It's late.
10:20.
Please, any question? Those are online. Please, do you have any question for us, please?
So,
any questions? Yes.
When you are writing the paper, you write that this is what the data is seeing, or this is what I'm interpreting the data.
No, you write this is what the study is saying. Please don't put yourself as part of the study if you're a positivist guy. If you are an interpretivist, put yourself as part of the paper. But if you're a positivist guy, don't say this is what. So according to the study, I'm not part. The study deduced that. In this study, we observe that. So everything is a study. So when they say that this work is rubbish, it is not you who is rubbish. It is the study that is rubbish. This is what people don't understand. Sometimes someone will tell you this work is rubbish, and if you are not careful, you get angry. The person is not talking about you. He's talking about the work. But if you write and then you put yourself in it, that is where it becomes a problem. So you see that if somebody is reviewing and he is reviewing an interpretivist work, he will not be saying things like this is wrong because he cannot be very objective. The positivist guys are very objective. So when you come to the physical sciences, the language is very harsh. When you go to the social sciences, the reviewers, their language is very soft. Because they know that people have put their ideas in their work. So the writer may say that, I observed that studying 15 people in Ghana, that was not the case. You cannot say that your thinking is flawed. You only have to express that, even though you believe that, there are other research who have also counter what you have done. That. So that is how it is. If you are writing interpretivists, two things. The interpretivist writer has a lot of windows to run away. This is the thing. All the research methods have their weaknesses. We are not doing research methods. But let me explain this. None of them is easy. They all have their advantages and disadvantages. An interpretivist work, because it's subjective, when he studies and he finds out that this is green, he only tells everybody that, as for me, I see this thing to be green. You cannot challenge me. That is what he sees. It's a perspective. There are different versions of the truth. But then, the challenge with your work is that you need to read seriously. If a positive guy will read 10 pages, interpretivists will read about 50 pages. That's the difference. You need to have a broad, super broad perspective of all the theories in the world to draw conclusions. A positivist guy may not be reading that deeply. But if this thing is blue, and you come and tell us it is green, you are wrong. In fact, we can actually pick when you are wrong from your method. As soon as you get a method wrong, everything else that you have done is wrong. No discussion. You are developing an algorithm, right? And you are writing a code. You put a hashtag at where it's not supposed to be a hashtag. It should be an ampersand. There is no way you can come and argue and explain it from a different perspective and say that even though the program is not running, it is from my perspective, or even though the program is not running, it is my computer. You are wrong. So you get a difference. So even though if you are a positivist, you will not be doing a lot of that detailed explanation. You also have a big challenge. You cannot get it wrong. I hope we are clear with that. Thank you very much. Any other?
Look, I've seen something like sometimes in this computing field, see that
Listen to the language. Sometimes in this computing field, I've told you we should stop talking like that. Tell me your man, we computer English. you see what happens? Force yourself to stop speaking like that. And then you see that when you are writing, you don't have any problem. It takes ages. It takes ages.
computer science, some of the publications that I see,
Oh, can you speak louder?
some of the publications, for example, the person will specify even the computing device in which like you run the school.
I don't think they can hear you online.
Like for example, maybe you use an HPC.
Yes, you specify that you use HPC. Yes,
You specify even the memory size.
Yes,
and all that.
yes.
I wanted to know, is it necessary?
it's necessary. Part of your methodology. We need to know. It depends on what you are talking about. You are saying that you have come out with a new algorithm that can hack into systems faster. You don't know what machine you are using. You are using a supercomputer, and then you are using the supercomputer to tell. So you should be able to tell us that when I use this, that this is the result. So that before I will accept what you are doing, I will test it. In fact, in some areas, in engineering and computer science, they will tell you that the papers that you are reading, you have to conduct all the experiments yourself. You, the researcher, conduct all the experiments yourself to verify whether it is true before you even start citing them.
So those who will validate and verify, they use the same specification.
Same thing that the person has written. It should be auditable, which is different from those doing interpreting, because you can hardly get the same person to go and interview. If you do a questionnaire, if I give it to you and you say this is green, if I give it to them, they should say this is green. Positivist. Only one truth. If you are doing engineering, computer science, and mathematical sciences, and it's a non-social science, even some people have argued that mathematics is a social science, and medicine is a social science, so it's still questionable. But what we are trying to say is that if you are doing something that is physical, that you are proving, when you get your results should hold irrespective of, that is why we say it's ontological, irrespective of the measuring instrument, we should get the same finding. That is why you have to do validity. So he was talking about threat to validity. So if I know that something can affect the validity of my measuring instrument, I put it down as limitation, so that when you do it and you don't get that result, you can say that, oh, you did not get that result because you measured the thing in Ghana, and in Ghana this is our cultural perspective. I measured it here, and this is the cultural perspective. So there is even subjectivity in objectivity. Those who have done philosophy will be telling you all these things. Within objectivity, we want to be objective, but there is subjectivity because we have a fundamental belief that we are using.
So the conclusion I wanted to find out is in my own work.
Yes.
If I'm to work on anything, let's say machine learning or anything,
Yeah.
should I give all these specifications?
You have to. Every single thing, that's the methodology. Every single thing you do, you have to let people know. If the research cannot be repeated, and I think I have that thing in one of the slides. Please, let's find a way and separate the slides. If something cannot be repeated and you cannot get the same results, then you have not done the research. That is. Say again.
You want that research?
No.
Especially where the writer
Don't compete with the person who is running and he is last. See, you are running a race. Somebody is last. Then you say, by me, I passed that person.
When you verify it, you get to know
The
the
person-
percentage
what the
doesn't
person-
match what he's
That's what I'm saying. But it does not mean that that paper is good.
I get you. So you are verifying that, right, as part of your work, and you realize that you use the same method of
And you got a different result. You can publish it as an article. That what the guy said is a lie. In fact, recently,
sometimes you reach the methodology and you get to know that this one is like
no, but you have to verify.
like doing
Yes.
Yes.
Recently, I think last year or so, last 2 years, one of the top researchers in the university in Canada, the lady has published a lot in medicine She came out and apologized to the whole world that one of her papers, she had seen that the data collection approach they used was wrong. So she write to the journal that the paper should be withdrawn. Do you know why she did that? If somebody finds out that that data is wrong, she is in trouble.
Even if she's in her grave.
Yes. Even if she is dead, they will go and write and put it on a burial list and you are no more a professor. They will let you
destroy it.
There are other cases where they don't immediately talk about them. They'll just say that, okay, I did this, I used this,
That is wrong.
and that is it.
That
And
is
if you
wrong.
want to verify,
So you see,
situations where you don't send
Angela, you are still not getting why we are doing this. The reason why we are doing this is that we are talking about the best practices. And I mentioned that all these things that we are saying, all of us, look, if I show you my papers, you see that there are things that I've said you should not do, and you may see something. You hardly get 100% paper. But there are some fundamental errors that you should always avoid. If you are reading a paper and you see that the person is making this argument, but the foundation of his argument is weak, it's a plus for you. You see, you are not getting the concept. So I'm going to first tell you in my literature review that even though Kofi Mensah did this and got that, he did not follow proper methods. That is what your literature review should be talking about. You are reading the papers as if you are marking them.
Yes, so you are doing.
But what if you
I'm
later
doing
you
what,
yourself
like-
you are wrong?
Nobody is saying you cannot be wrong.
Finding the issues, finding the issues.
Yes.
You added it to your original review.
Yes.
And it's like, as you want to provide a justification,
Uh-huh.
and not just by saying that, okay, the person did 1 or 2, and you think, in your process of justifying,
You want to reconduct the statement.
and you want
Yes.
to reconduct
Yes.
and verify the review
Yes.
so that that one will work more.
Yes.
Like,
You can reconduct. If the
and as
information,
in the process you are reconducting,
you saw that there is a problem.
there's
So
still
you're
a
right.
problem.
There's no problem.
If there is a problem, right? I don't know whether you are getting the concept. It's
The
straightforward.
person just states it, and you do the same thing, and you let know that I.
Good. So you have seen that there is a
So
problem.
you also do the same thing, and just.
No, you won't
let
do
them
the
know.
same thing. The person is saying that I studied Ghana. I collected data from Kumasi to tell who is going to win Ghana election. Right. And when I finished, it was NPP that won the election. So the next election, NPP is going to win. You start your study. You have seen a very big flaw in the data collection procedure. If you collect Kumasi, Bantama alone will win the election. So I don't need to continue. I just proved to you that from research methods, collecting data from Kumasi means that your data is skewed and it is biased. Hence, we cannot use that result. What does it mean? There is a knowledge gap. So now, I can conduct that study, use the proper data collection approach, and report my finding. I've made a contribution. That is how it works. Hey, Angela.
The last, you said the things that we don't forget is the problems and then the
Yes.
questions you are
Yes.
trying to solve.
Yes.
So, in your quest to find the problems and the questions, do you limit yourself to articles and journals? Or, like, for instance, MPhil MSc, someone has done the MSc thesis, right? And you find issues that you want to solve. So, can you use that thesis?
What level are you talking about? That is very important. So you are you an undergraduate student, or you see if
Okay,
you
so
are
I'm
undergraduate? Good.
and I'm looking for problems in an area.
Yes.
And I find a problem in an MSc thesis.
No. How about who are class 6? How about class 2 reading book? And I think
It's kind of significant.
No, it's not
in the area.
significant.
In the area.
No, it's not.
Maybe he's trying to say maybe the MSc guy couldn't address the problem.
No, you cannot.
But in terms of the area of study,
No.
it's significant.
What is the area of
Exam
study?
is wide.
You are
You have no
in JSS 3 and you have been given assignment on addition. Then you are finding problems in problems of addition, and you are saying somebody in class 1 did not add 1 plus 1 well, so I'm going to add 1 plus 1 well. way you should, if you tell me that you have seen a PhD work, you get it, a PhD work, that there is a loophole in it, yes. If the person is a PhD student who wants to address a problem, he cannot even pick his fellow PhD work. He needs to pick a published work. You see, there are hierarchies. You cannot just be at the same level. Even when it comes to the way to write, the way you communicate everything, every level is different. So you cannot go down and say, I'm an MPhil student and I've seen an MSc work that the person was developing an application and he could not fix the interface. So I'm going to fix the interface for my PhD. If you are my student to come, I'll slap you.
Still on that. Still on that. Can you, instead of trying to get a gap from, let's say, the MSc work, you can use that as a foundation. For instance, you don't understand that field.
Yes, you can read something like that, have an idea, go online, get articles that are talking about it, then you build a point. Until, you see, if I tell you the number of ideas I have in my head, when students come to me and they say, I have a lot of ideas, I say, me too, the number of ideas I have in my head. We all have ideas in our head. Until that idea is published, please, it is in your head. Even when we tell you to write that idea, you write that, you say all the things you are saying is rubbish. You cancel it yourself, you won't bring it. That is why you see that most lectures, if I'm supervising a student, when you come to me and you talk, I'll just nod my head. When you finish, I say, can you write and bring it? You have not made any difference. It would have been better for you to write and come to me. All the things you said, I actually did not listen. Because you only make sense when you are writing. The only time you start making sense is when you are writing. When it comes to talking, we can all say a lot of things. So you cannot just pick anything and say that, oh, because I've watched on YouTube that you are a scholar. Everything you say at a research level, everything you say should be justified, you should have evidence. And so if you are even training yourself, if you use that approach, you see that it changes the way you think, it changes the way you write. Anything, somebody comes to you and tells you something, okay, don't take it. If a person can provide evidence, fine. If he cannot provide evidence, you just say, okay, don't argue with the person, just say, okay, let the person go, but don't accept it. That is how your writing will be. So I read something, I don't accept it because I've read it. I need to do some digging to get some confirmatory analysis. Then I'll accept it. Then, as soon as I accept it, I either accept it as part of my ideas or as something that I believe in. I know the timing is not enough, but I think this is okay. I have been doing this series. I plan doing them from time to time. So I'll be sending emails so that the only thing or the only rule. Hey, Charity, you're not coming. The only rule to my presentation is that you have to keep them in use. That is the only rule. So, like last time, I did a systematic review. By the time I'm doing systematic review 2, apart from anybody who was not here doing systematic review 1, when you are coming for systematic review 2, you should have documents showing that you have done the initial data, you have collected this, you have collected that, then we work on it. Else don't come. So this one is free. You have the right to sign. Okay, so thanks everybody for coming. I will let you know in due course if I'm doing any other one, right? So
thank you too. You've been speaking for over 3 hours.
And once again, I apologize for the time. I think I have far exceeded the time. So I apologize for that. Thank you. Yes. So I should provide lunch. Hey, if I do.
Yeah, that was the plan.
I have an appointment.